They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And if that's the case, Garth Milan is one of the most gifted and prolific storytellers in the history of action sports. For over 2 decades, the motocross world has been blessed with iconic moments immortalized in a single frame. Moments like this shot of the Bubba Scrub, the most transformative move in motocross history, preserved in all its glory by a savant behind the lens. His catalogue of iconic images is unmatched. From his first ever cover shot for Dirt Rider, not to mention the iconic Transworld posters that adorned bedrooms and garages around the world. Garth has been framing the soul and documenting the culture of the sport since the late 90s. Long before Instagram clips went viral, his work was already shaping how we remember motocross and supercross. That is why he is the best in the game. Gypsy Gang, welcome Garth Milan to the podcast. In 2022, Eli Tomac made the switch to Yamaha and found instant success on their class-leading YZ450F. Eli Tomac had 3 reasons for making the switch. He wanted power, and the Yamaha has the strongest and most tunable motor in the class. He wanted KYB suspension, and the YZ450F comes stock with his preferred KYB system. And finally, he wanted a cable clutch. Yamaha took the championship-winning YZ450F and made it even better. More powerful, lighter, slimmer, with enhanced overall stability and more agility than ever before. The 2025 YZ450F is available now in both Yamaha Blue, or to really look like Eli Tomac, it's also available in the Monster Energy Edition. The pinnacle of off-road 4-stroke performance wrapped in iconic Yamaha racing livery. Head to YamahaMotorsports.com or into your local dealer now.
I met a gypsy.
We're live.
Yeah, mate. Let's go.
We're doing it.
Let's go.
Garth Milan. Hey, do I say your name properly when I say it?
Well, you say it like 99.9% of the world, which is, I guess, right. But the way my parents have always said it, or the way it's really pronounced, is Milan, because we're from an Eastern European country. Huh. So I guess for whatever reason, the pronunciation's Milan, but everybody says Milan, so I've just kind of adopted that.
That's so
I don't
funny.
care. I mean, it's just like, whatever. You can call me, hey, yo, dude. Whatever.
Just don't call me late for lunch.
But yeah, I mean, it's been one of those things. It's like I've always.
I never knew if I did it right.
No, because I'll get Milan, Those are like probably the 2 most common. Hardly anyone ever says Milan, because I mean, in English, it wouldn't be a hard I, you know. So it's just, it's weird. So yeah, right. One of those things that's just accepted. What about you?
You're like
McAlpine.
Yeah, McAlpine.
McAlpine. Okay.
Yeah. No one here gets it right.
Yeah, McAlpine.
It's like Mac, like McDonald's, and then Alpine, like Alpine Stars.
McAlpine.
Oh, that was smooth.
Beautiful.
You're like, it's like Tajay. You know what I mean? Milan.
Tajay, exactly. It's like, yeah, so that's what's funny too, is my wife has just adopted, she just tells people Milan now because it sounds better. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like
she's
sick
like,
last name.
Screw Milan, I don't care. Like, who cares about your
it's Milan.
heritage? It's Milan now because it sounds cooler.
What country are you from? Well, are your parents from?
I'm just
like
a big mutt, really. Yeah. I'd say like my dad was his roots were more Eastern Europeans.
What kind of country?
Lithuania.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So his side came from there, and then my mom was more. I think she was more like, you know, typical like mix of English, French, you know,
German, Dutch, just the
exactly.
whole.
Yes. So yep. So I'm just a big old mutt.
And they spat out this big, beautiful human being.
Yeah, something like that.
Do you remember the first time we ever hung out? Do you remember if you had to go back in your archives?
First time, I think it was the hurling shoot. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I saw that folder when I was going through my photos.
Did you really?
And I did think of that, but I wasn't positive because I know it was right around that time, like that year for sure. But I'm like, but now thinking back, now that you say that, I do remember, like, literally, I remember sitting with you in corners and going like, hey, am I in your way? No, you might, you know, and we just met, but we were like hit it off right away. So I already felt like you were my homie, and we were just like, hey, you go over here, I'll go over here. Cool. Don't get in the way. Cool. Yeah. So I think it was like one of those things that just worked out from the get-go. We were homies. So yeah.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, because you're behind the camera 99.99999% of the time, So Garth is, in my opinion, the best motocross / action sports photographer in the world.
Gonna make me blush, Jake.
Was a guy that I looked up to. Well, you're a guy that I didn't even know I looked up to because I started looking at your stuff before I even was shooting or filming. And so I would have like the Transworld posters and is that the big boss? So I'd have like the Transworld posters on the wall. It was always like Garth Milan on the photos. And then when I got into filming, I kind of like started to be like, okay, who's the best guys? And like I cared about that. And then you were the guy. And then, yeah, we met that day doing the DC Verb Herlings shoot. And it's funny, the photo, when we like very first actually like met, we were shooting this corner that just had like the sickest light.
That's what I was saying when I said I remember that corner because I remember the light was just amazing at Jeremy's place.
Yeah. And we were both there, and dude, I was literally just like watching where and how you shot that corner because I was like, I want to do.
And I was probably just trying to figure it out as I was going.
But those photos ended up being like the cover photos for everything. That was like one of the main shots in the like Wes's War Machines. Like for that segment, it was just the light, everything. It was so sick.
Gorgeous.
So that's like my core memory. It was like the first
That's
time.
awesome. Yeah. Do you remember what year that was?
It would have been either like 13, 14.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I reckon.
And that was my first time ever shooting Herlings, which was insane. By the way. He was just ridiculous, right?
You didn't stay that night, eh? So you kind of rocked up, and I think it was like the shoot.
I think I got there that morning.
Yeah. So we stayed there that night, and bro, like he was out of control.
Really? Like partying.
Yeah, and
wow.
I can't remember whether he was like drinking, but he was just like up. Just
crazy,
there was
man.
Girls around, it was like I think someone broke their arm in the fucking UTV.
Oh shit!
Like he rolled the UTV, so like he was out of control. They were shooting machine guns.
He's like, I'm in America. Let's go.
He was living, bro. And
He's a legend. He really is.
Oh, then got up in the morning and just was shredding, bro. Only dude on the track and just ripping it.
Yeah, that's impressive in its own right. It's just go to a new place, new track, and just like I remember he just right from the beginning, I was just like, this guy is incredible. You could just tell like the way he approached things and the way he rode his bike, you just know he's special. Like he was like insane. And sure enough,
he went on to do big things.
He did.
I met two of my heroes that day. Garth Milan, Jeffrey Herlings.
Well, I appreciate that. I never, it's funny that people do bring up those posters all the time still to this day because, I'll meet people who are now professionals in my field.
Yeah, they're like
videographers, and they're like, and they're like,
yeah.
I grew up with your posters on my wall, and they all say the same thing. They're like, man, because they have our photo credit on there, so it's like you kind of almost can't help but see it. So it's like, I hear that still to this day. And I mean, Transworld, that was when I was still on staff. That was 15 years, more than that, 17 years ago, I think, or something. I can't remember, but I'm bad with math. But yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah, 17 years ago. It was like when I left. So a lot of those posters were 20 plus years old. So yeah,
dude,
people grew up with them.
I still have some of them in my parents' garage.
Yeah, that's
for
awesome.
Sure, dude.
I actually just recently, when my mom was cleaning out her garage, and she was nice enough to give me she has the whole collection of every issue.
Oh.
And I have like these massive like plastic bins of just like every issue that I was involved in, basically. So even after I left and I was still contributing, yeah. So all the way up until like I basically just wasn't doing anything anymore. So I have like every issue. It's crazy. And it's like that's fun for me just to open any of those magazines and I can just go to any page and it just brings back memories like that. It's just like immediately like, oh, I remember that time in my life, or I remember that crazy trip, or I remember that, whatever. It's funny. It's like because you get the older you get, the more you forget things and things you just focus on in front of you. But when you do that, it's awesome to have those now, because it's funny too. Like thinking back now, it's like I don't have that anymore from like the last 10 years of my career. I don't have that anymore. Where it's like, even when I was digging up photos for this, I was thinking like it's not as quick to come in my head now because you don't even know where half the stuff goes, and it's like a lot of my jobs, I'm literally just, there's a DIT who's going through my stuff as in a trailer while I'm shooting. So I'm handing over cards, shooting 10,000 photos a day, handing cards over. They're culling through them, going through them. I'm not even seeing them again after I shoot them, which is crazy, but it's just kind of the nature of the beast now because we're just shooting so many photos and we're going with digital now. You're just going through so much. So in order to get ahead of that, you kind of have to have someone there on site to start going through those thousands of photos to pick the best ones. So it's crazy. It's like it's just different. You know, things obviously evolve and change, but that's one of the things I've definitely noticed is you don't remember those. The highlights aren't quite as vivid because you're not like, oh, that's the cover or that was the poster. You know, it's like now you're like, oh, yeah, that was probably a cool marketing thing or whatever. And it's cool. It's all getting it out there and it's all working, but it's like, it's just different now. You know, it's not as like special, I guess. It's like, you know, it's harder to get like that really special image where you're like, oh my God, this is the one out of like my whole year, you know?
Yeah, because they don't, they don't stand out. Like even you would remember like the frames before and after a cover.
Exactly.
You know, totally. Like you had like this intimate connection with the work because it was like you going through and you selecting and then photo went on and it went on a cover or it went on a poster.
Just a whole different process. And it was way like things are way more disposable now, obviously, because you're shooting 30 frames per second. So for one thing, it's definitely easier. So it's like those moments before that you're like, oh my God, I just nailed everything perfectly. Like the rider's timing was perfect, my shutter timing, everything. You know, that's a lot easier to do
gone
now.
Away a bit.
So it's like it's
before it would be like the frame would be at the start of the up ramp, the perfect shot in the middle,
like,
and then he's like.
Sometimes you'd come back up if I was only a little, you know. But now you're like, oh, I just and you got it, you know. So it's like it's a little different, but it's like it still takes. I guess it's like anything changes and evolution is. I'm accepting of that, and I like try to roll with that. But it's like it does evolve things and it changes things. It changes your perspective on, you know, capturing images really. So
yeah, and your career. I mean, that's why it's going to be so easy to do this because like, dude, you went to photojournalism school and like developed your own film and was like you were doing from the oldest school process
pretty much
to the newest development.
I mean, I started
like, you've spanned the whole thing.
Yeah, in college, I mean, I would just show up every morning and we'd have these massive 100-foot rolls of film and we'd roll our own 35 millimeter canisters, however many we thought we'd shoot that day. You know, you're cutting it, putting it on the darkroom. Then you go shoot it, and then you go develop it in that same dark room, and then you go enlarge it, and all that whole process, you know, is obviously all gone now. And not to antiquate myself, but I do think it taught me a lot, and I learned a lot from it. And just about like everything from light to planning to everything. I mean, just the whole thing. So I think it's like I do really appreciate that I grew up in that era where things were a lot harder, and I think it gives me a better understanding of just my whole job, you know. So.
Oh, even, I mean, on the video side of things, like we did all manual focus.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we were pulling crazy focus, and it was like such a skill that only a few people had. And then you get
Clay Porter.
I was going to say you get masters of it.
I would watch him just do one run of somebody, a 300 millimeter 2.8. And watch him just ace it every time. I'm just like, how do you do that? Like, I can't. There's no way I could do that. Well, I say that maybe I could learn it, but like
you could for sure.
There's no way. And it's like because we've been in my era. I've always been like since I've been shooting since the '90s. We've always at least had some autofocus. Granted, it's gotten 100 times better, but at least we had something to go off of. You could at least pre-focus even on like where you think the person's going to be. Whereas like I mean, these guys are just
off the barrel.
It's crazy. So it's like I see that and I have so much respect for it. It's crazy. But like, yeah, it's just all those things have really come along. And now I see the autofocus on even video cameras and it's just amazing.
It is ridiculous.
Like, it almost kind of makes me want to get into video, but at the same time, I really have resisted that and I really don't have the interest in, at least now, you know, maybe one day I will, but I guess I'm just going to keep chasing the stills until I can't chase them anymore.
Well, you're the best. Like you're the top 1%, especially in this world, you know, like I was always jealous of guys like you that they could just be a photo guy. There's just so many
I appreciate it.
Less variables and less thing. Like you,
to me, it's like I almost feel like it's like
you're like a fucking rock star of every shoot, you know, like whenever you'd be doing the whole thing and you're lugging cameras and generators and batteries and cards And then everyone just wants to look at the photo guide just to see they've got like the dope image. You're like the coolest
That's
fucking
not lost
guy.
on me at all. It's not lost on me. And sometimes I feel like that's just like an awkward, weird thing with me when I will get like that, where I see the video crews like so much work and so much to think about. Like just like how is like ahead of time thinking, how is this going to cut with this? And what kind of audio do we need to, all this stuff. It's just, to me, it's overwhelming, and I have such respect for it. And so I'm by no means like saying that like, oh, like laughing, like haha suckers. Yeah. But like, I just don't know if I could do it. It's so overwhelming to my brain, and everyone's brain's different. And some people will really like that part of it. I think like the whole planning ahead and the production of like thinking of how it's all going to splice together. For me, that's like overwhelming to me. And I just really like being like in that moment and just getting the absolute coolest single like picture tells 1,000 words. It says it all if you do it right, And so I think that's the thing. But it's like at the same time, there's a lot of pressure because if you don't do it right,
1,000,000%, bro,
you're done. Like you don't. So it's like if you can't consistently deliver that moment every time, you're not going to keep getting work. So it's like it's definitely its own thing, and it's definitely something that I've kind of learned. But it's
two sides of the same coin, right?
Yeah.
Like we I'm saying we video like fucking past life, but it's like the video side of things. It is so like that, but I don't know. The pressure's there. But you're covered in so many other ways. Like you can get different camera angles. You can have multiple cameras. Like there's different ways to like mask and get around that. And then you have like a way more creative freedom. You are in these like high pressure situations where it's like you have literally one frame to get it right. And if you fuck up that one frame, so there's like way less pressure on so many other fronts, but at the end of the day, there's still that exact amount of pressure just in a it's packaged in you've got to bear it for like one frame.
Totally. And I have a lot of my pressure and like weight on my shoulders is leading up to that moment and like anticipating and being ready for it and everything else and capturing obviously, but I think like that's one thing I also think about when I see the video crews. The one thing I really enjoy about still, it's like you either nailed it or you didn't, and you can't really fix it in post.
No.
Like I do zero Photoshop to my stuff. Like literally just like fix the levels, a little bit of saturation, whatever, because it's a raw shot, so it's just flat when you get it. But like I'm not counting on like, oh, I can just shoot whatever and I'll fix it later. Like you can't do that. And I'm not saying that video people do that either, but I'm saying there's definitely like a more you can, and I think there's more back and forth when you're done. So like you may have this vision as a video person where you're like, this is 100% how it should be. You get back to the client and they're flip flop opposite of like, well, why would you do that? Like we need to start over. And I've seen that happen on so many projects where that stresses me out. I'm like, I can't imagine
that's
like
the
you
worst
just
part of it.
Finish your masterpiece. You're so proud of it. The music, everything's perfect. And then the boss is like, don't like it, start over. Or
can we change the
song? Exactly. And then all of a sudden, everything, your tempo, everything's gone. So that's one thing I feel like I enjoy about like what I do is again, like but there's also that time, hope this doesn't really happen much or very rarely, but like there's those few times when you get back and people are like, hey, do you have this shot? And you're just like, oh, I don't, And so it's like, again, that doesn't really happen much, but it's always in my head. That moment of like saying like, oh, no, I didn't get that. Or, oh, like whatever. So I guess a lot more pressure being almost like a one-man band, really. It's kind of like that. It's like you don't have band members to make up if you're shit at the bass that day. The guitarist is ripping, so you're like, all right, cool. You can't do that. You're just like, all right, if you screw up or you're having a bad
doing
day,
like fucking poetry by yourself, just on stage.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's a lot to that for sure.
But yeah, you've been one of the best guys at that, and like there's different types of photography where, there's some studio guys and there's,
Absolutely.
There's all these genres. And there's been so many times in your career where it's like Red Bull, New Year's Eve, like, oh yeah,
perfect example.
Garth's the guy. And it's like, you've got to be there in that moment.
And those are some of the most stressful of all because
100%.
I mean, that you're spending a week of preparation to get to that moment when it happens. And if just I can feel it now. The pit in the stomach of just like the nervousness of like, oh my god, like don't fail camera and don't like whatever, just focus everything. Just like, yeah, a lot to it. So yeah, a lot of that stuff. But I also kind of thrive on that. I do like that pressure, and like I think that I do perform well in that. I think it's like something that I don't like. I don't say I like, but I must like it. Like once I get there in that moment, like Eli Tomac, he's like, he probably doesn't like the pressure of the number one plate or whoever like the leader is coming in. But it's like once they get to Anaheim 1, it's like it's go time. It's just like you get in that zone, and hopefully you're just feeling that zone, and you just don't even think about it. So
you know what I reckon it is these days is I would get the same thing, dude. I would be so fucking anxious, especially because I was pretty young when I was doing that. I feel like I've learned a lot in the last 10 years that I haven't been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But you get so anxious and you get so worked up, and there's so much stress. And like stress is a drug.
It is
on your system.
Yeah.
So you're like living in this stressful anxiety, fight or flight moment. And then I would remember all the time, as soon as the shoot was done and you're drinking beers, going through footage, and it's like it's over, the relief and like the dump that you get, I think that's what you get addicted to.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't like the pressure and you
yeah.
don't like the anxiety.
But without that, you wouldn't have that feeling afterwards.
It's
like
the
that
relief.
release of like, oh, I actually got some cool stuff. Wow, look at this shot. And that, to me, that's like, that just never gets old. I mean, it's 25 years of doing this, and it's like, it's still that feeling. I mean, it's so funny. Like literally to this day, like I just shot a couple days ago, I shot for Specialized, and I shot with legends, McGrath, Axel
was
like,
there. Yeah.
like Pingree, all these like legends, and so Troy Lee, like,
legend.
grew up idolizing Troy Lee, right?
Yeah.
Still do. So like to be with those guys, and but we were just shooting, we just went to Vail on a normal day, and we're just having fun. They got their bikes, and it wasn't in total no pressure, like absolute no pressure. And it was just, it's a fairly mundane shoot. But at the end of the day, I remember like pulling out of the parking lot, and I was like, I had to stop myself from pulling over the car, because I just like, oh, I want to see that one frame. I know I like really killed that one shot, and I just wanted to like see it again. And like just that gratitude of like that feeling of like you just captured exactly how you wanted to or whatever. And like, even if it's a dumb thing, it's like I still get excited over it, which is awesome. And it's like 25 years later, I'm still like, I guess, chasing that like that, or like you said, almost like that high of like getting done with the shoot and seeing, like having that gratitude of capturing something just how you wanted to do it and whatever. And there's like something to that,
Well, and when we went to dinner in January, you've shot some fucking kids on Razor scooters, and you were stoked.
No, I know,
Made me like,
exactly.
dude.
And that's what's funny too. Is like I'll have clients who I'll do some gnarly shoot for.
Yeah, you're doing the craziest shit,
and then they're like, yeah, we were gonna call you for this like studio shoot, but we just figured you wouldn't want to do it because you like only do crazy stuff. I'm like, no, like I love it all. I mean, everything. Like I can shoot anything, and I enjoy it. Like I don't care if it's a widget, a portrait, iPhone on a table. I'm gonna geek myself out with lighting and all the stuff to where it's exciting to me. And it's like, that's what I love about my job so much, is like it never gets old, because there's always that challenge, and there's like you can always do better. So you're just like, if you have that carrot dangling in front of you, you're just like, how can I shoot this coffee cup cooler to make it look even better than than what you kind of envisioned in your head. So I always like come into a shoot, kind of like an idea, like, oh, I think it should look like this. But then you get there and you're like, what more can we tweak to just make it that much cooler, or to get rid of this shadow or whatever. And so it becomes lighting and becomes like all these different things. So it's all these like formulas, and they're just, it's fun every time, it's like, it doesn't get old, for me at least.
You've just tapped into that, like that Japanese, like, is it ikagi or what? Like they got that word for like doing something to its fullest potential.
Yes.
For the reason of doing it to its fullest potential.
And it's like, and now it's almost a thing where it's not even a thought about.
That's
like
just your default setting.
Yeah, you just don't do anything half-assed, and you're just like, how can I make this the absolute best? And I think like every shoot I do that. So it's like, again, I could be shooting the dumbest thing, quote unquote, that people are just like, oh, it's not exciting at all. But to me it is, because again, there's all these variables that most people who aren't shooters don't really understand, you know, between lighting and all these different things. Like you can really make something look good or shit depending on how you do approach it all. And so it keeps you coming back, you know. And like sometimes it's not perfect, and you're like, damn it, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna do it even better next time, you know. So yeah, it's fun.
No, I fucking love it about you, dude. And it's just, that's one of the reasons, like, if people ever wanted to, like, if you're a young person and you're like trying to figure out how to work hard and why to work hard, like, you're the best role model. And I learned so much from you, like, just in all the traveling and in all the you know, different shoots that we did. Like, you just had that all the time. It was such a crazy, it was like a high standard, but with no pressure and with no ego and with no, like, you just fully did your own thing. You're on your own program, held yourself to a super high level. And it just, like, I don't know, you always, like, made me want to, like, rise to that. And I feel like I took that, especially into the podcast. Like, once I stopped filming and started doing this, like, it was ingrained in me in the same way. And it's like, at one point this was just doing nothing. You know, like, at the very start of this, like, there was one day I remember I was like, fuck, I was trying to do a podcast with someone remote. It was like one of the before I'd even really done it, and I was like sitting in my living room. I'd like tried to make the wall blank so that it didn't look like I was in a fucking living room. And I set everything up and like told my parents to be quiet because like they were in the house. And then the person just didn't show up, you know? And it's just like, it's so demoralizing in a way at the start, but like with your work, like with your approach to work and with the way that you always do things, like, I just did it my best. I made it look as good as I could. And, you know, then that's a fail. Then the next day you show up and you keep doing it.
It just keeps leading into it. You know?
And 10 years later, 7 years later, 5 years later, like whatever it is, if you do that in whatever it is
100%
in life, like you're going to get to this high level. And like, it's
it's all about like putting in the work and mixing that with having the passion for whatever you're doing.
Doing it for the right reason.
Exactly. So like when like my entire career, I've never thought about trying to be better than anybody or trying to like even thought about my own style as a photographer, because it's like, I just figured it's going to evolve into being my style. So like, I didn't chase any of that because I was just like, I was just chasing my own vision. So it's like, I wasn't like, I think it's good when you know, external things are sometimes good to gauge yourself off of, but at the same time, I think when you're like with art in general, you just have to find your own niche and just really chase that and really like, I guess, like I said, not even thinking about that it's my own niche, but just not trying to emulate other people or even worry about other people of like, oh, he's using a flash now, so I got to use a flash, or like, now the styles, no one's using wide angle anymore. I'm going to throw my fisheye away. It's like, no, I'm going to do things based every time on every shoot, what I think is going to be the best result, whether it's, you know, however, like, it's funny because like as a photographer, when I see a scene or I get to a place, I pretty much in my head already know it's like an innate thing of like, the long lens is the way to go here, or the wide angle is the way to go, or, you know, whatever, to tell that story of what you want to tell. So, you know, whether you're trying to make, you know, jump look bigger or you want to show a certain perspective, it's all, it's like, it just over the years, it's kind of just developed in me. And so it's like, you know, I feel like it almost answers itself. It's just like, you just let it happen, you know, and it's like, it just, rather than sitting around, like there's been times in my career, like earlier on when I would think too much about stuff and really think like, oh, it's easy to overthink as a photographer, you know, like, oh, I should have, you know, all these different lenses and all this equipment and everything. And then at the end of the day, the cool action happened and you were so busy worrying about all your technical BS and you missed the cool moment. So it's like, there's like that fine line of like being ready, knowing what you need to do and just doing it and not like overthinking things, you know, just getting in that zone where you're just like, all right, this is my flow. This is what's going to look awesome, and just not second guessing yourself and not like questioning it, you know?
When did you know you wanted to be a photographer?
So I would say the like pivotal moment for me, like it was funny because growing up racing dirt bikes and being into all this stuff, all the action sports and stuff, being around, like lucky to live in a place where there's all these great action sports athletes, you know, that I'm being
Around.
molded by, So so I was like really like, and then being a fairly decent dirt biker, when I was a teenager, I was mad decent. When I was a teenager, I really thought I was going to be a pro at some point. Like I did think I was going to be. I didn't know if I was going to be Jeremy McGrath, but I thought I was going to be like a legit pro, like at least, respected local / like maybe do some Supercross, whatever. But at a certain point, like my late teens, I had a bunch of injuries in a row, and I was basically laid up for I broke my femur, a bunch of stuff. So
that's a big femur too.
They literally had to special order the thing. Like I had to wait for like an extra several hours because they're just like, we've never seen a femur rod this long. So,
no way.
Yeah, seriously. Like,
awesome.
I went into surgery
it's not
at
awesome, but it's awesome.
2 a.m. because I broke my leg at in the afternoon. And
Where'd you do it?
I did it behind Canyon Lake. I was wakeboarding.
No.
Yeah, wakeboarding. It was brutal. I'd spiral fractured it in like 9 places. So basically, like my X-ray was just my leg was just mutilated. It was facing the wrong way. Basically, like I had to like grab my knee and move it to spin it around almost. Like it was that bad. It was disgusting. So yeah, it was brutal. So anyways, so between that, a couple other things, and that was right around the time when I already had this feeling with cameras. It's so weird. Like I think it was like my 12th or 13th birthday. That's what I wanted for my birthday. I wanted like a, old, just like a cheap, drugstore camera, but I was like really into it. And the reason why is because I grew up reading skate and motocross magazines, and just every page, again, back to that thing of like back then, that was all there was. So you just know every single, like you're just staring at a photo for like, I read every magazine multiple times per month until the next one comes. So you just like, I just grew up with that and just loved it. And so I guess in my head, it was almost just like part of like, oh, this is cool. Like I just associate it with like rad. And then when I was riding, I really had like this kind of fascination with it. But then I didn't really think much of it. I just kind of thought like, oh, I just like taking pictures like anyone else. And then it was like, I was in junior college at the time, and I was a whole different career path. I was going to be a physical therapist. So I'm taking like medical classes, anatomy and physiology and all this stuff. And I just really I felt like I was like a fake, like, I don't know. I was like going through the motions. Like I felt like it wasn't me. I didn't have like a real passion for it. I was like, oh, got to get a job. This pays pretty well. I want to help people. Physical therapy sounds cool. I'm going to do it. So got into that, did an internship at a hospital. I was all about it, and then during like while that was all happening, and again, I'm only like probably a sophomore in college, something like that. But I was like really going that direction. My girlfriend at the time, she got a camera. It was like the first time I'd ever used a camera that has like manual focus.
Do you remember what it was?
It was just a Minolta, it was like a, it was decent, like, lens switch and everything, but it wasn't like anything crazy. It was just a fairly, starter kind of camera. But still, I just remember like having that control over, being able to like put things out of focus in the background and, all this stuff. It was like this weird fascination, and I just loved the thing. So she got it and started in her like first, photography 101 class. And I was like, oh, this thing's so cool. And I just I was just fascinated with it. So sure enough, next semester, I'm like, oh, maybe I should take a photography class too. And then I would say, within a couple months, it was just like, I'm like, this is 100% like, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. And my parents thought I was crazy. They're just like, wait, what? Like, you're going to, all these credits that you put towards this stuff, you're just going to abandon it and go a different direction. I'm like, this is it. Like, this is my thing. So at that time, I remember like for me, everyone has their little story, but like for me, I was delivering pizzas at Domino's, which I was making pretty good money, getting my tips and stuff. I'd get like, making like, I don't know, $20 an hour back in like the 90s, So I'm like making pretty good money, and it was all cash. Well, no, I reported it all. But anyway, it was all cash. And so that allowed me to get to, so basically I had this like kind of savings going. I had like a, savings of, a few grand, however many thousands of dollars I had. It was like under my mattress kind of thing, just saved up. And so I didn't really know what I was going to do with it. I figured, oh, it'd come in handy. So I literally like got so enamored with this whole camera thing that I just went out one day and just like, I went to the B&H back of the camera thing, because I bought every magazine at that point. It was like Popular Photography, all these things. And I'm just like, screw it. I'm just going to put it all in black. I put my life savings basically and bought the best camera you can buy at that point. Like the absolute
What
best.
was it?
It was a EOS 1N.
Yeah, right.
So, it's this camera right here that I have tattooed on my hand now.
No shit.
Yeah, so that was like the start of it all. So I got that camera and I just went all in. I was just like, that's it. I'm changing all my classes, everything. I'm going to be a photographer. And so I remember like some of my friends were like, dude, like, what? You're going to do what? And then like, again, my parents, I mean, they were very supportive the whole time. They've always been so supportive of me, but
that would have been a shock.
Yeah. I remember my dad's like famous, like in our family, famous quote was like, well, at least he's going to get a degree in something, and like, at least, maybe he can do something with it, but it's like, I don't think anyone thought it was going to turn into this life that I now have, which is, I mean, I'm so grateful for. And so it's so amazing, but I didn't come into it with any kind of like thought. I was like, hey, if I can make 25, 30 grand a year, do what I want to do, I'm stoked. Like, this is what I want to do. I don't care. And so I just approached it with not any kind of like greed, like I'm going to make a bunch of money, but I'm going to be able to get by doing what I love to do every day. And that's kind of how it started. And, it just kind of grown from there and snowballed from there. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, that's kind of how it all started though. It really was from that, getting that first camera or that, getting interested in it. And then just, getting, and then I was really lucky to, like everyone has their story.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
be right there.
yeah.
Coincidences. I mean, the fact that I grew up in Canyon Lake at the time, Jeremy McGrath, the absolute man at that point, just shredding everybody. He lived 5 miles from me.
The mayor of Canyon Lake.
Yeah, literally. Like, and I grew up like knowing him since he was racing intermediate class on a KX 125. So like we grew up like at the same track together, and he was older than me and way cooler than me. So it wasn't like, I'm not trying to say that I was like homies with him, but he was like, when you're a Grom and he's at the track, just like the local insane, like everyone knew from the get-go how much better, like it's just his style and everything. So it's like, he was obviously going to change the game. So like just being around like that time and in that era, and like this another thing that was like a huge thing to me is like when I was like probably late teens, really chasing the racing scene, Doug Henry would move out to like down the street from me almost for the winter. Because he, from Connecticut, it's too cold to
couldn't
ride.
ride. Yeah.
So I somehow just kind of became buddies with him, and we started riding together, which was like crazy, So it's like I have these opportunities to be riding with these absolute legends, and then hey, I'll bring my camera or whatever. And
so you started getting some photos of those guys.
Yeah, I didn't start as early as like when I was still riding with Doug. I wasn't quite shooting yet, but I was like interested in it. And then, but yeah, like once, and then the whole freestyle thing started popping off. So that was like a whole other thing because, again, in Canyon Lake, I have Mike Metzger. Deegan just moved in. Ronnie Feist was his roommate. I mean, the best guys in all these legendary, like when the stuff was just popping off, like I was just there. So it was like right place at the right time. And again, at that point, I didn't have any real, like Kirk Bender was the man. So he was like, him and Ciati, like they were like shooting with all those guys all the time. And I was just kind of getting into it. So I'm just like, wow, this is so cool.
It's
and
crazy
like,
to even think you were a Grom at one point.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Dude,
I was just like, I remember like driving by.
I've never thought of Garth the Grom, dude.
Full on Grom. Yeah.
That's
this
crazy.
Is like in the 90s.
Everyone's got to be a Grom.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like rolling through with my lifted truck and my Domino's Pizza sign on the top, going by Kirk Bender's house. And he's just got like all these pro wakeboarders, and they're just hanging
like
out.
Malinowski was there back in the day.
I'm just like, dude, this is so cool. I'm just like, I want to be this. I want this life, And so, yeah, just seeing all that stuff was so influential. And then again, being lucky enough to be by those things. And again, I was never like trying to like. I think I never went in too early, so I didn't like, just get my camera. Hey, Jeremy, let's go shoot. I wasn't that guy. I purposely tried to. I've always been like that, like just kind of ease my way into things rather than here I am, boys, let's shoot, So I wasn't like that at all. And I was like pretty timid, pretty shy, but yeah, it's the little opportunities, And then like Kirk gave me a couple of, I remember like, I can't remember what it was. There was some kind of a shoot he did that was like, it wasn't enough money for him. He was just like, that's like, I'm not going to bother doing that. He's like, you want to do it? Just little stuff like that. It was really cool. Those guys were like cool to me and, treated me well, and they weren't like, even though I was a Grom, they didn't like, shun me. They were like pretty cool, but they, the same time, like I definitely like paid my dues as far as like learning, how to be around people and etiquette with that stuff, and don't get in people.
Because that's just the whole thing.
It's a whole thing, exactly. So So I feel
some
like,
people don't nail it.
No, still.
Yeah.
But
We know people.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so I tried to, just emulate that and just see that life, and just I was exposed to that from a really early, 19, 20-year-old kind of time, where I was like seeing this idea of like, wow, this could turn into a real thing. And then the way that I really got lucky is, so then I transferred my college and decided to go to Cal State Long Beach, and I was like full on
That's right,
photojournalism.
yeah.
So I was like going to photojournalism. And then at some point, my mom, my brother and I grew up racing for years at Paris and then, GFI and stuff like that. So at some point, my mom took a job. Our whole family was a track family. So like we grew up like in the mornings, my brother and I would get there at 4 a.m. and pass out the pit board or the signature boards for the release waivers and stuff like that. And then I would flag in between races a lot of times and stuff like that. So we just like, we grew up at the track. Like and back then though, it was only weekends. They didn't have weekday practice,
right.
so it was just weekends, but that was our life, so again, so my mom was working the front gate. We were working, doing the clipboards. My dad was helping. Like we were all just like
all in.
Yeah, we're all in. So we just loved it. So that was also like really instrumental, I think, in just meeting people and everything else. So at one point, my mom, like she's amazing. She knows everybody. Everyone knows her. Everyone loves her. So she was really good friends with, a lot of the like pros that I would want to be friends with. And she, she was like better friends with them because they were like, hey, what's up, Linda? I'm going through the gate. And they would interact. So it's like, and I'd be like, oh my God, that's like whoever, like, oh, wow.
Then your mum's kind of just like semi-oblivious in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
She's just chilling.
She's just like, this, he's cool. Yeah. But like,
what a lovely boy.
Yeah, exactly. So she's like, so it was really cool to see that. But then at one point, my whole break was, Ken Fott, who at that time he was the Dirt Rider editor. He was going through the gate one day, and again, back to that point of like never trying to go too big too quick. My mom purposely, like she had seen him come through multiple times, and like she waited until she felt like we both felt that I was at a point where I could actually benefit him versus like
deliver.
Being the Grom who's like, hey, give me this, give me that, give me a chance. It wasn't like that. It was like, hey, he's just about to graduate. He's really come a long way. He's got a great portfolio. Would you mind like talking to him? Ken was like, yeah, I'd love to, great. So ended up hitting it off with Ken, and he gave me like one shot. They gave me a shot at writing first. I did a story and I did that really well because I was actually a pretty good writer too. So did the story well, and he already, liked my portfolio and stuff. So that led into my first Supercross race was Anaheim. It was like Anaheim, like 98, I believe it was, in 98. And back then they weren't quite as gnarly with credentials. And so I've told the story a million times, but long story short, I basically like mentoed my way down onto the floor. Like I just didn't have a floor pass or anything. Somehow weasel my way down on the floor. And this is all shooting film. Never shot Supercross in my life. And Supercross is like really hard to shoot at night because everything's with flash at that point because, you can't, your film's ISO 50. We're shooting on Velvia 50.
No way.
Film. Yeah. At the most.
That's basically
100.
Impossible.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like really challenging. And again, back then that style, almost everything was shot with flash because of that reason, because of film. So, I'm just like figuring out as I go down there. And, I'll still say to this day, I got totally lucky, but I just happened to get this picture of Ezra Lusk and didn't even think anything of it when I was doing it, And then we all get back to the office the office for Dirt Rider was in Beverly Hills area or like in LA area.
Oh, no shit.
And yeah, and I used to have to drive, all the way from Long Beach because I was living in Long Beach for school. So it'd take me like 2 hours to get to the office, but I was just so all in. I was just like, this is amazing, So I didn't even care. Anyway, get there Monday morning. We get all of our film developed, and everyone gets their stuff from the race, and they have their staff guys. Everyone's shooting. It's Anaheim. Everyone's shooting. So for whatever reason, they didn't have a shot. Everyone went through like the top guys first, and they're like, "Oh, we want to put Lusk on the cover, but we don't really have the right shot."
No fucking way.
And they go, "What do you get, Garth?" And I'm just like, these are like these contact sheets. You're looking on slides. I'm like, I got this one, and they're like, "Oh, I think this will work for the cover." And I'm just like, in my like Grom head, I'm just like, "No way! Like, there's no way! Like, it's not gonna happen." And then, sure enough, as the magazine evolved that month, more and more, they're like, "Yep, this is the cover." And sure enough, I get the cover. So I basically first time walking down to a stadium. So again, like totally lucky, like crazy moment.
Is it luck?
Meets preparation meets whatever. Anyway, a lot of cool stars aligned that night. And then it just went from there. Like from there, Ken was just like, what's next? What's next? What's like? It just turned into like, I almost felt like I was full time from that moment on, really. So it just turned into just more and more work. That we're doing this cool 24-hour test. Come with us, shoot it. Just shoot that. Just, you know, oh, here's another Supercross. Oh, here's your first away trip. And I remember like I shot this like a enduro race out in like the Midwest or something. That was my first time ever like getting on a plane. I was like, you know, I couldn't even rent a car at that point. I was like 20, you know, young 20s. And I'm just like, this is so crazy, so cool. And it's like, you know, the start of living my dream right there, you know? So it's like, it just kind of went from there. And then I stayed with Dirt Rider for like, you know, a good like 1.5 to 2 years. And then in the year 2000, Don Maeda, he was just getting ready to start Transworld. And then at that time, it was full on like hush hush kind of secretive kind of thing. Like, hey, I think we're going to do this magazine. It's kind of getting formulated. And so one time we were at work and he was doing MX Racer, which is like a sister pub to Dirt Rider. And he was like, hey, you know, you're this new guy coming up. I think you're a good fit for this. You know, Transworld's got this, you know, heritage. And then at that point, for me, I grew up reading the Skate and Snow mag. So I'm just like, oh, are you freaking kidding me? Like Transworld? Like, this is insane. And so it was a horrible time as far as like a decision because I had to obviously quit Dirt Rider, which was just gutting to me because Ken was the reason I was even there and like giving me so much. And that wasn't lost on me. I was just like, so it was just such a hard decision because I knew 100%. I knew it was the right decision for me because I can start something new and be one. It was like just going to be Don and I, like two people doing this magazine from.
Was it really?
Oh yeah, it was for the first like I think 2 years, something like that. It was like we were bi-monthly, and that was the best time ever because there was no website, so nothing. So what we would do basically, and because we were bi-monthly, we never wanted to seem stale. So Don's whole MO, and I learned this all from him, obviously, was fuck off for
a month and 3 quarters,
5 weeks, 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden we're straight, wide open for 2 weeks or a week and a half, whatever. Just all night drinking coffee, writing your stories, everything, because you don't want it to be like stuff would change so quick. So if you write about a race that was a month and a half ago, by the time it gets published, distributed, it's 3 months old, 4 months old. So it's like you have to think of like not only be timeless, but also just be right at the last second. Like this is what's the most current we can do right now, you know? So it's like, so that was like fun, but also, you know, it was like, it was rad. It was like some of the best times. So a lot of the times like Don and I were just out having fun and just riding, testing,
just
like
fucking around.
Yeah, kind of. But like,
just exactly what Don does right now.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's made a career out of it, which he's done a great job. He crushes it. So
That's
but
so cool.
it's like that. It's like like we just, you know, now
like go that way a little bit.
Now looking back, like my wife will tease me about even those days because that's where I met my wife at Transworld.
Yeah,
and she'll be like,
"No way, you met Val all the way back then."
Yeah, I met her back at the Transworld. Yeah,
wow.
So she would be like, "Oh, you guys are going testing again, huh?" You know, like, and that basically means we're going to have fun and ride. Yeah, exactly. So it didn't take long, but that was kind of our job, just because we were like, you know, doing all these tests, and like you had to be at the track and be on the pulse of everything, but at the same time, you really can't do things ahead because it's not going to be relevant. So
you just have to be like a part of the culture.
Exactly.
Like go to the track, be at the track, be around, be with riders, be just a part of this evolving culture and like reporting on the culture.
Totally. And back then too, this is SoCal back in that day, like early 2000s, where like nobody moved to Florida yet. Nobody everyone was there. So you go to the local track and that was, again, there was hardly any practice days. That was like Elsinore had just opened, you know, Glen Helen a couple of days, whatever. But like, you know, that's when everybody's there because there's not those like every track's open every day, whatever. So like, I know now it's kind of getting back to where there's a few tracks, but like, back, you know, there was that era 10 years ago where there was tracks everywhere and they're all open all the time. So like you might get lucky and see one guy, but then, you know, half the people are in Florida by then or whatever. But like, in that era, everybody was there. So it was cool. You know, it's like you're living what you're writing about. And so it's like, I think it was essential to make the magazine authentic and core and what it was, because we were in there and we were like, hanging out with Josh Hansen after like just whoever, like random, all the big athletes that you're writing about, you're also just like hanging with them and riding with them and, whatever. So it makes the interviews way easier and way like more authentic because you're not like asking dumb questions. You already know this person. So you're just like, it's like you with your subjects a lot of times, them. And so you're like, hey, Tyler, this is what, whatever. So it's like, it just really broke down that barrier and it made all those guys way more approachable because you see them at the track all the time and just doing their thing. And so you just kind of became part of that. So it's like, it was really fun, a really fun time in life. But also, again, back to the stress, I remember times when you're just like, oh no,
grinding.
like I got to do like 10 stories in 2 days. Like, oh my God. And like, writing things and rereading it going, that's shit. Oh, I got to erase all that. And like, it was fun, but it was different, a lot of work. And so at some point, I think that's what kind of like ended my career doing so much editorial is once the website became such a big thing and almost like trumped the magazine, it became where like I always loved the idea of putting so much like, again, some of it was rushed because of the nature of the beast, but you're putting so much quality into like one page. Whereas like I felt like the webs, like just web in general, you're just trying to get it up as quick as you can and put up as much as you can. And it's just like it's like a quantity, not quality thing at that point. And so that kind of like drove me away from it because I felt like the magazine almost became like an afterthought. And, I'm still obviously trying to get the absolute best content, but I feel like I was almost getting in the way of capturing the really cool stuff because I was chained to, I have to do, 10,000 words for Monday Kickstart and stuff like that, which was like, it's awesome and I love reading it. And as a fan, it's great to have, but as a journalist or as like the person doing it, it's really stressful to show up at a race and know that you have to, come up with 10,000 words of news from that weekend, plus get amazing photos, plus do an interview with somebody. And like it just became kind of like the analogy of the video stuff. To me, it became like, I just wanted to simplify things. I'm like, that's just too much for me. I just want to concentrate on really delivering the absolute best quality, one thing, picture, that's it, and it's like, maybe it simplifies me, but it's just how I like to do it. It's like, it starts to scramble my brain if I have too much.
Yeah, it just takes away from the thing that you are there to do in a way.
Exactly. And all of a sudden you're not even thinking about the cool moments because you're so inundated with like, oh, so homie has a riser saddle. Homie's this he's got a seat bump.
I'm going to this suspension.
All these little things are just going through your brain because you also have to do that. So all of a sudden, you're not even looking at like that rut's getting really cool now. It's getting
the
deeper.
light's just starting to hit it.
It's gonna drag his bars. Do you miss those nuances because you're just wrapped up in news and that kind of stuff.
We need to bring you a quick word from our sponsor, motorsport.com. I got a YZ450F that I got some upgrades to do. You know exactly where I'm going. I'm going to need some help with customer service, so I'm going to chat with a gearhead. This box showed up. It has a 2007 KTM master cylinder, a Yamaha caliper, also 2007, and a Turner braided brake lines. I feel like this is a very good upgrade for $600. Need the old hanger, so we're gonna put a bit of grease on that and get it back on, bolt her up. Caliper has been done. Now this can just get bolted on. Now, shout out to Kiefer, who I think stole this off Doug Dubark. That was easy. Nah, that was easy. This is a pretty epic upgrade. You can get OEM parts to build this little Frankenstein brake kit, or basically anything else for any brand by going to motorsport.com. It's funny, Griff. So Griff did like all the Supercross, like the West Coast stuff over here for the first 5 weeks. And I think he realized how good his job is. Because all he has to do is go, I don't give a fuck what he feels. I literally don't even tell him. I was like, yeah, man, just go shoot. And he's like in the photo den with everyone. And
so awesome.
So he's filming and then he comes back in and he's just like, fucking hell. They're like,
Yeah,
everyone's just like going
like
for it, you know, with socials and like we don't do none of it. We're just trying to get shit for the intro, stuff for the press conference, stuff for B-roll, for social clips. Like we have our product that we make, like Eli. We just did the pod with Eli that week and we knew who we had coming up. Mm-hmm. So it's like, get 6 shots of Eli, get 6 shots of Kenny, get 6 shots of Chase. Like, just get 6 shit. Yeah. And so he kind of got to live
the experience
like that.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, yeah, bro, that's what those guys do. It's almost like a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
With who can get it up first. Oh, you're second, you lost the race. Yeah. You know, like they're grinding
and it's hard
to post like quali 1, quali 2, fuck, it's so much.
And I'm kind of living that now, but luckily it's not as much.
It's not you.
And I'm better with like visual versus like I said, I consider myself a really strong writer, but it takes me a lot of time and effort to like really reread things and go over it. Whereas like I wasn't good at just when Don was insane. Like Don can write like,
just one shot.
Dude, he can just whip out like the most witty, awesome, like I'd watch him like write his whole column, which was like the front page of the magazine every time. It's really important. It's like it kind of sets the stage. Dude, he'd write that thing in like a half hour and like, oh, let's go riding or let's go play racquetball. I'm just like, how do you do that? And so like for people like him, I think that comes almost as easy as the photo stuff for me.
To you,
So it's like
everyone's
for me,
got their thing.
I feel like I was good at it, but I had to struggle for it, or I had to do a little more to get there with the writing, and so it didn't come as easy. So it was more of and I think I put more thought into like.
Yeah, you just had like a different approach.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like photos now, we are kind of under that same deadline, but I'm pretty used to it now. So like when at a Supercross now, by the time the first qualifier is done, I'm sending photos out within 3 minutes, 2-3 minutes of that thing. I'm just like firing stuff off. And by the time the race is done, Swanee and I have sent hundreds of photos, from that day. By the time like it's, 10:05, we're already like people have hundreds of photos. And then because of that whole like how quick things need to be turned around, because the stuff on Monday is almost useless. So like our turnaround, like we'll go to the East Coast or go wherever, get on this first flight out, and then by the time we're landing, we're pretty much like done with we've gone through 7,000-8,000 photos, picked the best, renamed them, photoshopped them, and get ready to upload them by the time you get home to Wi-Fi. So it's like, it's crazy. The turnaround is insane, but it's also just the nature of the beast now. So for that stuff, and that is still kind of editorial. And that's why I really do also like the commercial side of it, because it brings me back to, it's still, you're spending tons of a company's money. So on any production, so you're still trying to be as efficient as possible, but it's not the same pressure. You have a little more time of like, okay, I can like put a little more thought into this shot versus just bam, bam, and get it out
and they're
right
paying you for that.
Exactly.
They're paying you to take your time and do your best work to capture that one image again, or like the series of images. And
so that's why I really I love both. Like I love doing the races still too, but I really also enjoy like the commercial work I do, because it's just it's a less rushed thing. It's a little more, can put a little more like thought into it. So.
Yeah. Did you ever think back in the day when you were doing photojournalism at Caltech Long Beach that it would get as crazy as it has now?
No, I had no idea. I mean, I didn't know what I was in store for sure. And it's funny because my professor at the time at Cal State Long Beach, he was such a legend. Like, this guy is Pulitzer Prize winning, like just legitimately and he retired had his own studio, done all these crazy things, all these accomplishments. He's retired and wanted to, pass it on, be a teacher. And he was just such a legend, like such gnarly guy, but he would legit make me cry. Like, yeah, so like it was almost like the photojournalism program at that time, there's not much interest in it. So our classes were at a table like this. There's like a card table. There's like some of my classes there is 3-4 students in the whole class.
That's amazing.
So we're almost like one-on-one with this legendary dude, but he had so much like passion to like just make us the best. And so, dude, he would just rip you apart. Like there was never a time when he's like, That's photo.
A good photo.
Like you never heard that. I mean, ever. So it's like, I remember thinking like, pouring so much time into a project or like whatever, and sending and doing the enlargement and spending all this time in the lab, doing it over and over. Oh, I got a little, messed up this little thing. I need to dodge and burn more. So I got to redo it. And all this time, get to this thing and you think it's just perfect. And you're like, he can't say anything bad about this. And I remember he was missing his like 3 fingers right here.
No,
and so
right.
I remember he'd get like this red marker and just with his thing and just like with his pinky and his thumb and just, you're just like, oh, watching like all your work. And he's just like, this is bad. Why would you do this? That. And you're just like, just tear you apart. But it made you better, and you just tried that much harder. So I think that's really where I got that whole perfectionism thing. And like, again, back to the whole like all you have is that one frame to tell everything. And if you screw up one little detail anywhere, whether it's composition or out of focus or lighting, whatever, it basically ruins the whole shot. You might as well just not even taking it. And that's what he instilled in me is like, if it's not perfect, why do it? Or why don't do it until you get it perfect and don't turn it in until you do that. So that really like helped me out a lot. And I had so much like respect for this guy. He was his name's Wayne Kelly, such a legend. But the thing that like kind of like we kind of lost touch because he got super, super disappointed and bummed on me because I think he really did see my potential and kind of saw me as like one of his star students. But he wanted me to be a photojournalist. And so he thought, he's like, oh, I told him at that point, like by the time I was graduating, I was already editor at large at Dirt Rider. So I was already like basically full time. And then I had that Transworld opportunity all like right when I'm graduating basically. And so I was like, when I was at Transworld, I was still finishing like a whole semester of classes. So I'm like still in school and he's just like basically telling me you're throwing your life away pretty much. And so I'm just like, man, that's pretty heavy because I feel like this is a great opportunity, and this is like, and I don't think he understood how much passion I had for the actual sport because I grew up my whole life racing. I mean, I told him that, but I don't think until you do this, and I mean, dirt biking is crazy. So like,
from the outside, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't 100%. It's like what these people.
Just
are
see me
nuts.
trying
like,
to tell Anna what it was.
Yeah,
she was just like,
what
the fuck are you doing, bro?
Idiots. Yeah. So I had that, and he's probably just thinking like, what's this, whatever. So I told him, hey, I'm going to take this job. I'm going to go full time. I have this opportunity. And he was, I remember just the disappointment in his like, it was crazy. Like I changed to him. I was just like, he was so bummed. And I think, to the end of at the end of our, when I graduated, I think we left on good terms, but you could just tell he was just like a disappointed dad. Like,
he's like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you're more dead to me than your dead mother.
my kid's gonna get into porn. I mean, he'll make money, but but it was one of those things. Like, yeah, he could just tell he wasn't stoked on it. But I just had to make the right choice for me, and it goes back to that thing when I felt horrible leaving Dirt Rider to just start Transworld. But it's like the opportunity's there, and
it was iconic.
Yeah, it was like, knowing
you
now
made the right decision.
Oh, I mean, I'm so stoked, and it was just such a cool opportunity. Also, in that stage of my life, to be able to rather than jump on a successful magazine that's already doing everything well, it's the opportunity to start it from scratch. So it's like, that was a whole thing. I remember to this day, like being at a meeting room with Don and the publisher, and like literally naming all the, scan was the photo gallery, and like naming all these things, skills was the writing thing, and race shop was the tutorial, like picking all these like columns and all these like regular things that we were like just starting from nothing, and like, what are we going to name it? What are we going to do? What's, are we going to run a photo? And like, we were the first, well, I guess not the first, but like one of the first that I remember motocross magazines that had like a dedicated like photo gallery. So to me, that was like a huge like thing. Like, I get 10 pages to display my work now.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And just let it breathe. Like just the photo, a little caption, not a bunch of editorial and not a bunch of stuff around it. It's just the photo. And like that was amazing to me.
Because you're bringing back some crazy memories.
Yeah. I mean, it was everything. And so
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So to me, that was like, I'm like, okay, how are we going to change the game? And obviously super influenced by skateboarding, snowboarding. How are we going to change the game in motocross to almost like emulate these other sports that I love? Like I loved reading the skate mags more than I loved any of the moto mags at that point. So I'm like, how can we, do that? So I think between Don's ideas, my ideas, they all kind of melded, and the rest is history.
That's when the best shit happens, right? Like when you're just making content that you want in the world.
100%.
Like that's what I feel with this. Like when I started this, I was like, I'm gonna make the show I wish I could watch.
Yeah.
But I can't.
Yeah.
And now I don't watch this. But
Really?
I get to do it. You
Yeah.
know? So to me, I'm like, I'm scratching the itch both ways, because it's like I wish there was someone that just did this and I could like watch an Eli Tomac interview for 3 hours, and I could I wanted a Joe Rogan that did motocross, and I was like, there's none, so I'll just do that.
It's
and
so
you
crazy.
did that in magazines.
For sure. It's funny because that really brings back a memory, like a thing to me is I've told so many people, like when you started this podcast, I'm like, there's no way Jase isn't going to be the absolute best, because I've never met anybody in my life to this day who can hold a conversation and is interesting and just a cool person to hang out with. And I'm like,
I appreciate it.
I'm like, when you started that podcast, I'm just like, it's going to be the best. Like there's no doubt in my mind, because I just know like A, how interesting you are, B, what a great conversationalist and person you are. So it's just like that you're going to extract so much cool stuff from people, because you don't come in with some agenda. You just let things flow, and you just are like, you're fun to hang out with, and things just lead into cool places. And I think that's kind of the same way with my shooting. It's just
100%.
like, there's no agenda. It just having
No
a good
ego.
attitude, a passion, no ego, and just let it fly. And it's like, that's everything.
Some of my favorite, I was talking to Shira because I told Steve that you were coming on, and he's like, dude, there's just every time you shoot with Garth, there's when the drones and once the videos, and there's video and photo on the same shoot, that complicated the world of photography.
Yep.
Like that added like a whole nother layer to what you and everyone had to do. And he's like, dude, I would just remember all the time you'd be on like the biggest Red Bull shoot, and then there's like drones and production, and then Garth's just like chilling. Can I go shoot now? And he's like, yeah, we're just 10 minutes while the drone battery. Best photos ever. It's just like, all right, boys.
Yeah,
see you later.
Literally, that's like
that's how you get that shit done.
Yeah, and that's to this day, it's still like that, because I go on a lot of these big productions and stuff, and there's 75 people on the production, and there's grip trucks and a whole video village and all these people and all these teams, and it's me and maybe one person, and it's just like, and nobody wants me there. So all the video guys are like, oh, it's fucking still guy, in my way.
We'll just get a screenshot. They're fucking red.
Exactly. They're like, yeah, we could pull it, and I'll just sneak in real quick, get the shot. And it's like, that's literally that's my career pretty much.
It's so fucking cool, but really that whole just the vibe of like how you can just go and do that dip, like it's like a calling card of your way.
That's so funny because
everyone says it, bro.
I never put thought into this, and it's funny now that I'm hearing this, and I can 100%. That's it. But it's like I never thought of, like, when I'm there, I guess I'm just so used to being working my way in, and when it's time, and not rushing things, and just picking up on those moments, and I guess that's just kind of like what I've made my career out of. Really. But it is funny. It is funny, and it's funny because now that we're talking about it, like looking back, like, I can definitely see, like, no video crews who said the same thing. They're just like, you just kind of come in out of nowhere, sneak in and get the shot. But it's funny.
And then you're just like, and you just like scroll through, and everyone's just like, what the fuck? And then you're like, guys, see you later.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good day. Yeah. That's what I try for, so usually it works out something like that, sometimes not always as easy, but
it's cool though that you, at Transworld, you just created the thing you wanted to see. Like that is the best art. I think really that's the way that.
And they gave us the flexibility. Like Don gave me looking back for how young I was, he gave me a tremendous amount of trust and flexibility with just doing things how I wanted to do it. And if he wasn't a militant leader at all. He would tell me, he would be critical of things and tell me if it was good or bad. But he wasn't like, he was very open minded with like me having my own style. And back then I was, crazy punk rocker, had weird colored hair all the time and all that stuff. And that stuff I think was all kind of new to him, but he was super cool with it all. And he would just tease me, but also like, would let me do it. And like, I was just, different time in life. But he was great linking up with him and, everybody I've worked with. I have no nothing bad to say about anybody I've ever worked with. And even like when I left him, you know, in 2008, I left to start the Medium, and that was just as hard as it was to tell Ken when I left Ken, you know, because like Don gave me this shot.
You put everything into it, you know?
Yeah. And we were like best friends living together. And so it's like, you know, there was a time like when I went through a divorce when I was early on, like in my young 20s, and Don let me live at his house. And like, I didn't even know him that well. And he was just like, took me in, like his family and everything. I mean, he just did so much for me. So, you know, I was lucky in that, but I think it was all just right place, right time, all that stuff. But it was, I mean, yeah, it was huge thing for me now looking back and like having that relationship, you know, with my boss basically, who was also like my best friend and, you know, riding buddy and everything else. And so it was easy to make cool stuff because
you were actually living it.
Yeah. And there was like, there wasn't pressure enough there was enough pressure to know like you don't want to mess up, but there wasn't pressure to like conform, to be like, it has to be this way. It was more like, you know, oh, cool. You want to, you know, that's a weird photo for scan, but yeah, it's cool. It's interesting. Let's do it. You know, it wasn't like, oh, that doesn't fit the formula. You didn't shoot at the right shutter speed or whatever. It was like, it was pretty loosey-goosey in terms of as long as it's cool, let's do it. And so I think like we definitely, you know, broke some ground in terms of, you know, media in that day, you know, like
doing things for sure. Like I
very visual.
I feel like I was the demographic for Transworld. You know, that to me, I was exactly the same. I read every single magazine every month, cover to cover. I read MXA, Racer X, and Transworld every month.
Yeah,
I would ride to the news agent on my BMX bike and get them. But Transworld was the one. Like, I loved MXA for reading about the bike nerd shit and the clickers and the testing and the gearing and all that. And I love Racer X for the racing. But I love Transworld for the culture.
Yeah, exactly. It was the vibe. It was a vibe for sure.
That's what I like. That made motocross so cool, and the personalities. And it did create this whole new school vibe of what I think the sport became in a way, you know.
I think so too. I really do. Because again, as you mentioned, and it's funny that you picked up on that so easy, is like definitely like, and I respected MXA was like for sure the techie, like read exactly about the bike and everything.
You were probably reading it to figure out what to do on your own bike.
100% I was, yeah, because those guys were experts. So it's like, and not that I wasn't, but like, you know, I was learning all that stuff because I was, grew up and I wasn't like when I was racing, even though I got to a nearly pro level locally, I wasn't like ever getting like, you know, anything special or parts or testing with people. So, you know, I was just figuring it out of what felt right and trying to write that and not mess it up, because that's a lot of pressure too. You know, if you go in and trash someone's bike, you're going to hear about it 100% afterwards, and you need to justify why you said that. Like, you can't, if you just go in and say the new blah 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 250 sucks, you know, you have to have really concrete reasons as to why as a journalist, or you're going to hear about it for a long time. So, you know, I had that like respect for that level. And then, you know, I did again back to like the racing stuff with Racer X, you know, they had like Eric Johnson's stories and like just so good. Cool. And like they had so much. So, you know, I think we saw both those sides, and then we were like, let's make something that's kind of in the middle of these, where we're still testing and we still have respected editorial opinion, but we're also bringing this like vibe and this flavor and make it really visual and really concentrate on like almost like for that time, almost over the top, like using studio lights when somebody else would just take it and shoot it in the sunlight, you know, and stuff like that. Like, how do we bring that quality, that production level to that next level, you know, of like really advancing things, and like, all right, every photo in there should be somehow remarkable in some way, whether it's just this product shot, it should be shot cool in a studio with good lighting and cool, you know, maybe the theme or whatever. We started doing that, like where we'd pick, like we'd do the new products, and we'd, you know, 1 month we would light it a certain way so it all looked, or we'd use gels 1 month or whatever, just weird stuff. And again, I think that stuff was like, it brought its own vibe and made Transworld what it was. So I think it was cool to be in the forefront of that, of like pushing that, of like, hey, what can we do different to make it like really visually appealing? I think that's the end of the day. Is like, it was just we wanted to be a really visual, like just awesome looking magazine, you know, with the respectable editorial, you know.
How quick did it grow from just you and Don?
It grew pretty quick. It was like we went, I think we did the first 10 issues, I think were bi-monthly. I want to say maybe 8 or 10, something like that. So, you know, as it was growing pretty quick. I remember like one of the biggest supporters right from the get-go was Ken Block, who I ended up becoming really good friends with. And he was just such a legend. And he really saw the vision of it from the day one. He was like one of the first advertisers, and he bought the rear, the last like
2
spread.
pages on the back.
Yeah, I think it was that. He bought that, or like locked in, and he was just like, we're 100% in. Like he got it like right from the beginning. And I remember like meeting him and like, you know, being really influenced by him and just what a nice guy he was, but also his passion and doing things right and doing it well. And so I remember like,
so this was like before he was the famous car driver.
100%.
Ken Block,
No,
and it was just like DC businessman.
Just a businessman. Yeah, like, legit. Like but he rode. So we'd go riding with him. Like we'd be like, hey, meet us at Elsinore. Like we're going to go some motos. And so he was just like a buddy / supporter of the magazine, but he really believed in it.
What a fucking legend.
Oh, he's such a good, he was just the best. I love Ken. So he was like such a supporter from day one. And that just having brands like that. And then Fox came in and they were the coolest shit back then. So they bought a big spread so it was like, I remember like the publisher having these like like boxes to check, and like, all right, if we get DC and we get Fox, it's like big spreads, like we're doing things.
Do you remember what they were worth back then?
I don't remember. No, because I didn't do that side of the sales side, but you know,
need to ask John.
Yeah, I'd say spread, it was probably $6 to $8 grand maybe back in the day. I really don't know. I could be way off, but yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I just remember that being like a huge thing for the magazine and just like the perception of the
validation.
Magazine. Exactly. And all of a sudden, because we had that support from the get-go, I think it became pretty cool right from the beginning, because you had all these kind of new cool moto brands. Like DC was just kind of getting cool too. So I think like we helped. Now, they were already doing awesome stuff in Racer X and whatever, but like I think we helped, you know, being from SoCal too, I think we helped just really shape that whole time.
Yeah.
So I think that, so it grew, you know, it grew pretty quickly. It you know, launched pretty quick. And then I think by like 04, 05, I mean, it was huge at that point. I mean, they were like, the magazines were looking like telephone books, you know. I mean, I can't remember the exact page count, but I mean, it was like 300, 400 pages, I think, or something like that, for like the buyer's guide issue that was like the big Christmas special. I mean, it was getting really big, and like really all the riders were making tons of money. Like the freestyle scene was really popping. So it was like a really cool time. And like, you know, I really rode that wave of, you know, kind of right into like those mid 2000s like that. And you know, when I left, it was still, I think it was like the #1 magazine at that point. And so, you know, the #1 sales, I think, or whatever. So it was right up there. It was always like battling with Racer X. You know, Davies does a great job too, but it was like, you know, it was right up there. And so just even to have that, I was like, this is amazing, like what we've accomplished. And so it was cool. It was really like a great time, and definitely shaped my career, you know, so.
Yeah, man. You don't think about, like from the outside, you just think about Transworld. It was like the biggest, coolest shit. But yeah, like just to start that.
Oh yeah, it was like
from the jump.
Yeah, again, like in the beginning.
And there's so many unique factors about it. Like, SoCal, young dudes, you know, because like Jody and MXA are kind of like a bit older, definitely like in their ways, like very hardcore testing focus. Like you guys just filled this void that was almost like, you think about nowadays, it's like social media, and you've got like kind of cool creators that are creating things on social media.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were almost like the cool creators back then, but what you produced was a magazine, not like social
I mean, I never thought of it that way, but it's, I mean,
kind of is like that, right?
It was, yeah. It's like, you know, somebody has to be that person of like, hey, this is the cool new shit, come check it out. And like,
and there to capture it and put in the effort in to then like make the product and sell the product.
Yeah. So it's this constant evolution, but yeah, I think it was really a fun time. And then, you know, as we got more into video stuff, again, not that I was shooting a video, but I enjoy the process of it, and I enjoy like being around those things. So that was fun too. So like being around, like when Taylor was making all those videos for us, Stone Spray Sandwich and all that stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Like that was so fun. Like Crush, that was a really fun one. Jay Schweitzer. Like it was just cool, like being in that time and being around the sport when it was just in such a cool place, and you know, just just being around all those cool projects and everything. And it's like for a kid at that point, like, you know, I was probably mid to late 20s. And I was just like, I guess, yeah, just really like that height of like, this is just awesome. This is like, this is what I was dreaming of to get, you know, all these years. I basically living the dream because that's what I wanted to do. And like, it maybe not everybody's dream, but for me, being able to go ride my dirt bike and take cool photos and be in this culture, it was just, nothing can beat it. I mean, it was just the best. So, you know, to this day, I'm still in a certain extent like that, which is amazing. But, you know, things are different now or whatever. Yeah. But, like, still absolutely just love being around when I'm around. Like, it's insane. Like, every time I go to any race or anything, it's just as exciting. It's just, like, again, you know, things are different because you've been to so many, but it's still the actual racing, it's only getting better, I think. Like, it's crazy. I mean, it's just, like, it gives me goosebumps to think how just the level of stuff right now in motocross. It's crazy. So it's just like, it's cool. I love this like constant evolution of the sport. And I mean, even the change to super motocross and that stuff. Like at first I was kind of like, oh, this is weird, but now I get it. And it's like,
I'm
cool.
into it.
It's sick. Yeah. It's sick. It's like, I just love the whole sport. It's in a good spot right now. I feel like, and again, like having been from somebody like me, who's been going to the races now for the last 7 years of my life, like the sport's in a good spot right now. I mean, the attendance, the fans are like all the stadiums are packed. The interest is there. I mean, I know bikes are expensive and it's a hard sport to get into, but for whatever reason, there's so many, like, sports in a good spot. Like there's people.
Dude, I went and rode at Kahir Creek on last Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking packed.
That's awesome. Great to hear.
And it's one of those things where you're on the track and you're like, fuck, there's a lot of people here.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. But then you're like, dude, there's a lot of people here. Like, that's actually a really good thing.
It is. It's really good. It's just good to see for the future of all this stuff. And just to see, like, I want this sport to be at an even higher level.
It's
where
definitely
it should be,
on the up.
Like, 100%. I mean, it's like, and I talked to, you know, Sean Brennan at Supercross, and he's always telling us, like, you know, every year there's like, oh, we've got this much more, you know, this many more people are tuning in, and we've got, you know, every year it's record attendance or record viewership, streaming, and all this stuff. It's like, it's really good. And that's the other thing too, is like for them to still get as many butts and seats as they do is pretty impressive, because the TV package is freaking awesome. Like, let's be honest. I mean, you almost don't need to go to the race anymore, but people still do, which is awesome. Yeah. And it's like, just goes to show you how powerful the sport is.
Who was I talking to the other day? And someone in the industry, and they go to a lot of races, and they're like, I don't know if I'll go this weekend. It's just so fucking good to watch it on TV. And I was like, bro, you're so right. Like,
It is.
I miss not going, but I also don't, because, bro, like, and then you got race day live. Yeah. So you're like kind of tuned in all day. I feel like
if I sit there and watch TV, I know more than if I was actually there.
At the race,
which
for
is
sure.
Crazy to think, you know, because I'm right in the middle of it all,
You're
on the floor, everything. And it's like, I'll watch the broadcast and I'm just like, oh, I didn't even like notice how sick that jump was or whatever, because it's like, it's just different from watching on the TV. So it's like, it's cool. They do such a good job, and it just continues to evolve, and it's rad to see the sport where it is right now. And I think it's just going to only get bigger and bigger, because there's nothing, I shouldn't say there's nothing like it, but there's so few sports like that there's so much to it. It's so hard to be a champion, or like to win, to put 17 rounds together and beat the rest of those guys. Is just, I can't even comprehend, but it's just like, it's so hard and it's so interesting to watch, and to watch like the ups and downs of that whole season for somebody. It's just, there's so much to it. And it's like, you know, like Formula One got so popular, but to me, Formula One's awesome, but I think motocross is as much, if not even more exciting from a fan perspective, and from a danger perspective, and from just everything. I mean, there's just so much to it. And I mean, you know, I guess like I said, every sport, I guess, kind of has its own little, you know, nuances that if you're really into it, you get it. But like, yeah, Supercross, there's just so much to it, between bike setup and starts, and I mean, there's just
the risk.
What risk?
Can go wrong.
What tire you're gonna run that day? There's just so many variables, and it's crazy. But it's like, I love it, and I just don't think it ever gets old, because you really can't script it.
Predict
you can't
it.
know.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, if you would ask me, you know, if you like before Supercross started, oh, Jet won two rounds ago, probably. Like he's just going to dominate everybody. Well, sure enough, Jet's not even here anymore. Neither is Hunter. So it's like,
yeah,
it's crazy. And it's like, you know, not to say that injuries are good, but it's like, it just goes to show you that you can't predict it. You can't script it. You don't know who's going to be on top at the end. And it's like, you have like Aaron Plessinger started out the season struggling.
No points.
Now he's just
thought he was going to retire.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, I might have to quit my job.
Totally. And I mean, I was watching him like those first couple of rounds thinking like, oh, what's up with AP? And you know, whatever. I'm not like I'm talking smack because AP's the man, but I'm just saying like you see guys who you expect.
It's that unpredictable.
And that's how in the level is so good that you know, somebody like Aaron can have a bad weekend and fucking barely get top 10. And you're just like, whoa, what happened? Or look at Malcolm.
Yeah.
You look at Malcolm, you know, it's like you start the season off and he doesn't start off that strong and you're like, oh, what happened to Malcolm? You know, oh, Malcolm, it must be done. And then next thing you know, he's winning. And you're
4 weeks later, he's dominating the entire field.
Oh, what whoops.
Yeah.
So it's like that. I mean, it's so cool. It's just like, it keeps me coming back. It's just always fun and always, it never gets old to me. Like even if you have, I mean, maybe Ricky's season got a little old. That was a little bit like...
That was a bit much.
Yeah, the 24-0 thing, I'm just like, all right, like this is getting boring. But you know, there's moments like that. But for the most part, it's like that. I think it's always exciting. And I mean, for the last 20, since I've been doing it, it's always been like crazy exciting to me. And it doesn't get old. You know?
Well, and I think one of the other amazing things about the sport as well is when you've been doing it a long time, like I can go to the track and if I, you know, like when I saw you in, was it San Diego? Like I didn't see you at Anaheim and then I saw you in San Diego and I haven't seen you for ages.
Yeah.
And it's just like your friends are there, your family is there. You know what I mean? Like you get so close. There's so many good people.
Oh God!
Within the industry, and it's like
it's the best.
I mean, come here. Yeah,
that's the thing.
You know, like that's addictive.
Yeah,
you know,
all of my best friends and all of my everybody I know, it's all been through dirt bikes and photography and just something in that thing. It's like I have some other friends that aren't into this stuff, but very few. It just becomes your life, you know. And it's like, but it's a great life. It's all just everybody's awesome. You know, there's not a lot of people there's really nobody that I don't look forward to seeing on the weekend. You know, it's like every weekend it's like, and it gets hard when you're grinding so hard because sometimes you feel like you're not giving maybe those people the amount of attention. Like even when I saw you, I felt bad because I have so much pressure at the races to capture so much stuff. So I see
I have nothing to do.
My mind's already like racing of like, God, where do I got to be right now? It's I got 3 minutes to be over to this pit to get this shot. But like the same time, you know, you get that, and it's like you're all around. Everyone's got that same thing going on, but it's like just to see everybody every weekend is just so cool, and it's all like again my best friends and the people that I respect the most, and it at every level, whether you're a top media person or you're a top rider or you're a top mechanic, just tons of awesome, talented people, you know. And it's like a awesome field of talent, you know. So it's really fun.
No, you're so right. So when did you start doing, so at Transworld, did you start doing photos for companies and you started doing other, because your transition is like full-time staff at Transworld and then you start working for Red Bull and you start working for these huge companies. Like how did that process go?
I'd say Red Bull was a huge catalyst for that. So it kind of started off. So Don and I we were doing like we'd get side business come in, and so we started our own LLC called Independent Media. Yeah. So we were doing that, and we had a studio back then that was in the back of Bill's Pipes. So we were like working out of that. That's where we shot like a lot of like all the girl posters almost, unless they were like on location, or in all the race shop stuff. Because again, we wanted to elevate this stuff, so we had a proper studio with lighting and all this stuff. So we would bring in. Like we'd have the guys, and again back then everyone was in SoCal, so we'd have Jeremy Albrecht would come in and would drive his bike truck, and just pull up, pull the ramp off, put the bike in the studio, and we'd shoot him changing a clutch on Bubba's bike, and we're like, all right, cool, this is our race shop section, So we had like all that right there, but we were trying to do it differently because people were already doing that, but they were like at
Doing
the
it in a
track
workshop
going like,
or
let's
at a
just do it.
track.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So we were trying to like elevate this with the production and stuff and try to like really make it like look really cool. So because we had that studio there, that just kind of led into people saying like, hey, I have a few more products to shoot. Can you do the, whatever? And so Don and I would start doing these, kind of freelance jobs like that for, different industry people and friends and whatever. And so I kind of got my taste of it with that. I did some other just random stuff, but I would say Red Bull was like really the person to kind of open my eyes of like,
This is how much money you can make.
well,
doing
that, but
other
also
shit.
there's just a whole other like,
world.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like, and that was right around the time when I was starting to kind of get sick of doing so much web content and also writing the stories. And I was just like kind of overwhelming to me as far as like just making too much content too quick and not really putting what I felt was like the quality that I should be putting in. I felt like I was doing B or C work and I wanted to do A work.
Yeah, you were doing quantity over quality.
Exactly. So I think at that point, I started doing like those Red Bull jobs. Really was like Jordan Miller. He's a guy that was a friend of mine, Jordan. He was my big catalyst for that whole thing, and he was really kind of brought me in and got me involved early days with Red Bull X Fighters and also with MOTO stuff. So the first New Year No Limit, he hired me to shoot that, and it was funny because it was like we just kind of started this relationship, and at some point. Like the idea, like I don't even think he ever thought about like, oh, he could hire me. Like, oh, really? And so once he realized that, he's like, oh, I can just hire you for stuff. And I'm like, yeah, like let's do it. He's like, all right. And he just brought me into so much cool shit. So like he's a legend. He brought me in and
he's one of the OGs.
Oh yeah. Not only was he instrumental in just doing what I was doing motocross wise, but he like took me under his wing almost and really liked my work and working with me. So he introduced me to everybody at Red Bull. So all of a sudden, I'm not just shooting motocross. I'm shooting NBA players. I'm shooting Blake Griffin. I'm shooting like legit people that are like, like Harrison Barnes, all these like big time athletes. And so that like really, so it's funny because that like really started to open my eyes of like this whole other world of like commercial photography, or that's not even really commercial, but just like that whole world of like I can get outside the motocross bubble and get into other stuff. So I really like got into it almost so much to where it started veering me, I think, kind of in a wrong way because I kind of got these visions now at this point. I'm like, oh, like I already done so much dirt bike stuff and whatever. I'm just gonna start, getting this new exciting world of like NBA, NFL, all these big sports, and I'm going to try to start pursuing Nike and Adidas and all this like, other stuff that I just had these ideas of like, I'm going to become this big commercial photographer. So because of that, I kind of started to ignore my roots of moto and my roots of like action sports. I was like, oh, I want to get into anything that is just like these big paydays and big productions and big whatever. So I kind of started to like, again, just almost ignoring the fact that I had like this is, already had this like niche, really, it was already cut out for me. So at some point, I don't know, like at some point I started kind of noticing that. I kind of started thinking like, wait a second, I already have like people already know my name pretty well. And, from the posters in their rooms and whatever, I already have this like name carved out for myself. Like, why am I ignoring all this awesome work in the field that I really love to try to like chase this new stuff? Because everything always seems like, oh, it's
shiny
new, like it's gonna be better. I'm gonna do something even better.
Grass is greener.
Yeah, grass is greener. So I'm like, at some point I got like a year into chasing that kind of work, and I did some really cool stuff. But at the same time, I'm like wait a second, like I'm kind of ignoring all like my roots of what got me here in the first place. So I started really going back into pushing towards trying to get more work in the industry and more, commercial shoots, but for the big manufacturers and sport and stuff like that. And so I kind of got the best of both worlds because I kind of steered away from the full commercial route, but I kept a lot of that whole mentality in those big productions, but I started doing them
in this industry.
Yeah. For
so
motorsports.
Like now with Yamaha and all of the work that,
Yeah. So I kind of like turned that into, another, like basically keeping that niche, but also trying to expand upon it and getting bigger projects in that realm that I was already known for. And I think now in hindsight, I'm really glad I did that because, it would have been fun to also chase the other avenue, but I just would have been another photographer and with no real
Yeah.
roots or credibility, just kind of like starting from nothing again. And so I'm like, it makes more sense. Plus, I just love, like, I can't get away from the passion that I have for these sports. And so, yeah, I kind of like melded the two things and became almost like a commercial motocross photographer.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
kind of like that's kind of now what I'm chasing more. So, I still love to do any of it, but again, I think that's more what I'm going towards, is doing like more commercial work for the big manufacturers and stuff like that. And also, of course, not ignoring the races every weekend. And we shoot for 15 of the best companies in the sport right now. We're lucky enough to do that. So, that's full time too. I'm just like always thinking about how we can do better. And Ryan and I are always talking about what we can do. He's like, I'll really give him credit too, Swanee. He's really like pushing things in terms of like, even stuff that I never even thought about doing, because I guess I've already been past that in my head. Like he's like this year he got this really cool filter, and he's been using it a bunch and he's got really cool shots with it. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I always kind of thought filters are lame because we were like past that point.
Yeah.
But now I'm like looking at it, I'm like, no, stuff looks really cool. And like there is a spot for that. You just can't overdo it,
Yeah.
It's like, but it's cool. Like I think that's rad. And he's a great partner because we're always we're not competitive with each other, but we're also like, there's
But you're pushing each other.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like, you're just always wanting to. I remember the first
you're like
time
feeding off each other.
Exactly. I remember the first time like when we first started Octopi in 2017, at that point, I'd done the races my own way for the last 17 years, 18 years, whatever. So I kind of had like my own, thought of how this is how you go to a race. And then I met Swanee, and I'm like, and he was just doing shooting way more like stuff that I would just be like, oh, I'm not gonna shoot that. Like, the good shots when he crosses the finish line. But he's like picking up all these little details of like these cool lifestyle moments and these cool things, and that kind of opened my eyes to like, oh, I need to shoot more. I need to like be taking more photos and capturing all these other sides beyond just the really special moments, because there's also these other cool moments exactly that are happening before my eyes that I'm almost like nose blind to now, or like, whatever. I'm just kind of like, oh, I've seen that a million times. But like when you start, then I would start hanging out with him and seeing like really open my eyes of like, oh man, those dumb little moments sometimes produce some really cool images, So I think like, yeah, he's been awesome to start Octopi with, and it's been really cool to have him as a partner and to, push each other, but never with any kind of weird
ego or
animosity or like we're just like, it's like if he gets a better shot, I'm not jealous, but I'm like slightly like, God damn it, why didn't I think of that? So, like in a good way. Like I'm stoked. I'm like, oh, he got the shot. There you go. Like for our clients, like done deal. But I'm like, wow, how do I do that next time or whatever? Like I'm always learning. I feel like there's always that's another thing I love about photography is like you're just constantly learning. You're never perfect. Like it's every shoot I can come back and be like, I could have done one thing differently and better, and it would have made a better result. And so it's like,
and then gears advancing,
exactly,
tech's advancing. Like there's so much to sink your teeth into. Yeah,
it never gets stale. You never get bored of like, oh, I got it. I nailed it. I can do no wrong. It's never like that. And I think it's the same way with motocross. It's like you can be the best in the world, but there's somebody else coming up, or you might screw up one little thing and let your guard down for a second, and all of a sudden you break your leg or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're up against this crazy hill of coming back and all this stuff. It's like, it's never easy, and at that top level of whatever you're doing.
And that goes back to what we were talking about at the start, right? Is like when you're doing it for the right reason. Even the podcast, like on this episode, there'll be new shit that we're doing that we've never done before. Like last week, we got our sick team. There's like 4 of us that are just, we cook every day. And it's like, I'm texting Rowan's like, hey, the other night I was watching a UFC fight, and they had like a sick lower third that came up in the screen, and I like took a photo, sent it to Rowan. So I'm like, dude, this with like me and the guest on the clips, we put that, it links back to the full episode, and then like, dude, it's Sunday here or whatever, he just done. And then like 10 minutes later, it's back, and you just end up in this like evolving collaborative thing.
And I like that. Like I love being inspired, and I feel like like you're not copying people. You're just getting ideas and
yeah, you're taking what you can from like the life that
Yeah.
you're living, and you're like,
Yeah.
you have this product. You guys have Octopi. I have Gypsy Tales, and it's like it's just this constantly evolving project, and that lower third graphic, like it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
For like no one's paying it extra money.
Yeah.
Doesn't guarantee
Yeah.
more views. Like there's nothing intrinsically going to come of that thing. But when you add up 500 of those things, you create this like forward momentum in your brand or company or craft. Yeah. And I think that's what I was getting at before, is like when you do things for the right reasons, it's just like for the love of the game, you know, like you never get bored in that mode.
And to just constantly try to improve yourself, and like for no reason than just you want to do it.
Improve,
It's like I was listening to Semenuk's podcast with you, and he talks about that a lot, and it's like it's so true. It's like just those little things adding up to.
Yeah, he's talking about his style and just making sure his elbows in this
and
exact
he's just
right
such a
spot.
Perfectionist, and like to his point, and like when you guys were talking about that, it's like he realizes that like, yeah, I just did what we came to do, but I did it 98% of what I could have done, so I'm doing it again, and I'm going to do 110%. You know, he just like, and that's his mentality, and that's why he's Brandon Semenuk, because he rises
there's no
to that
secret.
occasion. It's like, it's just like he's like, oh, like anybody else would have been high fiving, oh, done, we got it.
Yeah,
and he's just like, oh, my style was a little wrong. Like, I'm gonna redo it. You know, it's like that's how I feel with my stuff. It's like it's almost to the point where I'll drive myself crazy, like with hours in a day or something on a project. But like when I have that camera and when I'm like in the job, like, dude, time just melts. Like it's just crazy. Like 16-hour day feels like an hour. You're just like, wait, what? Like it's already 11 p.m. Like what just happened? Because you're just like chasing that zone. And like I love that. I couldn't imagine doing a job where you're like looking at the clock all day going, oh, I'm almost to my break. And you know, no offense, because I know everyone's got to do their thing, but like I'm just saying, like I just feel really lucky and like very much I have so much gratitude to know that I can, you know, chase my passion all day long and try to just keep getting better and better. And it's only going to make my life better by doing that. But it's like, you know, I'm not really necessarily chasing like a specific
for
thing
that
or
reason.
like exactly. It's not like I'm just trying to do the absolute best work I can do. And even if, and like, I know I'm not going to necessarily get paid more or anything. Like I could do a half-assed job and collect the same paycheck I'm going to get as if I put 110% of myself into it. But I just don't enjoy it as much. So it's like, I don't enjoy working like that. I don't ever want to just write it in or just be like, yeah, got the shot, like done. Like it's always just about how can I do it better? What can I push? What kind of like envelope can I push to get like that next little bit of, you know,
just chasing tents.
It really is.
Yeah. Dude, Swanee's come up has been epic. Like I remember I was lucky enough to be around him early Verb days. When he would like, he didn't move out here. He would just like come and spend like weeks.
Yeah, because I know you knew him like way more than like when I met you and said like, he's like, oh yeah, I've known Jase forever. Like
yeah. Well, he was like trying to make it in the Verb crew.
He was,
you know? And he would shoot on Nikon like a fucking weirdo.
He still does. No, the Nikon's gotten good. But.
But he would like come. He would stay at the Verb house in San Clemente and just. Grinding, dude, and he was so good. He always was so fucking good.
He just like, even when he was a Grom, I just remember like first seeing his photos and like remember seeing
he had his own style. What you were saying about having your own style without trying to have your own style, he was like that.
Yeah, and he just has a cool, like, you have to be good with your camera, but also like a chill, likable person, and he's just like, he's good with that. Like he's just like somebody you want to hang out with versus like somebody you're like, oh, he gets good photos, but I'm like, oh, like cringe, you know, like he's just, he gets it. And so it's cool. It's really, it's cool to see. Yeah, for sure. Cool to see his come up and see, you know, like, and he came from like, again, I was like lucky in the fact that, you know, I'm in SoCal in the heart of all this stuff and all this like,
was he like Indiana or something?
Dude, he's in Indiana, like middle of nowhere, and like figured it out, you know, and like it was cool. So like I remember, seeing his stuff and thinking like, And then I met him at Loretta Lynn's. I remember.
Is that the first time
dude,
you
I
guys
remember
met?
the thing. One of the things that impressed me the most about him, or like, because I'd heard of him at that point, and I'd seen him like a race or two that previous
He had like
season.
the 6-1 logo, bro. Like
Yeah,
he
the little
always
swan
just
logo,
killed
yeah,
it.
totally. Yeah, so I remember seeing him at Loretta Lynn's, and I'd heard of him, but I'm like, I didn't really know him at that point. And I think that was the first time we ever like spoke to each other. But I remember we were out there, and like one of the random, like I think it was just a practice or something, and he's got this like massive strobe out on the track, and I'm like, that's the kind of shit that I used to do. And I'm like, I kind of got too lazy for a second, but I'm like, wow, this guy's legit, because like he's trying to do something different.
Yeah, that's a
Going
lot of
above and
effort.
beyond.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, he could get the job done without doing that, but he's bringing all this crap because he wants to create a statement or make a different look than my stuff or anyone's there. And so I remember that, like, I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. Like, this kid's legit. And he wasn't a kid, but like, this dude's legit. And then it turned out he was cool. We got along great. And so we spent,
Yeah, you guys are like kindred spirits.
yeah, we just spent the next,
Yeah.
like, you know, that whole next season basically like hanging. And then all of a sudden that turned into like, hey, let's, you know, split hotels and split rental cars because it'll save us money. And so we started doing that. And then that evolved into like, hey, you want to just start a business? Because then I think also it got to the point where we were both getting big enough that we were going to start stepping on each other's toes as far as like taking clients or whatever. And so at some point we just had the idea, we're like, hey, let's just join up and just start Octopi and just basically share. Cause we kind of did the math, and we both had similar amount of like clients / like income that we were pulling in, but they were from different sources. You know, we had different people we were shooting for. He was Monster, I was Red Bull. So there's like all these things. So we're like, let's just pull it all together and do it all, you know, together and start this whole kind of new way of doing media. And so, you know, at that time, like nobody was teamed up. Everyone was separate. It was, you know, Frank Hoppen, Cudby, Bonello, you know, Buckley. Everyone's just their own person and their own thing. And they're all kind of like semi-competing against each other. And so we're like, let's just join forces and just, you know, do it together and like help each other.
Tag team this bitch.
Yeah. And then also we were thinking, like, for in my head, I'm like, you know, it is a lot of pressure. So it's like, if you miss like that moment, the absolute, like, you know, the Ricky capturing you know, winning the championship happens 1 second, split second. If you miss it, you miss it. So it's like nice to go there to a race and have somebody have your back. And so it's like, hey, if I somehow screw up or my camera have an error or whatever, I know Swanee's going to get it for sure. So it's like, if they have that feeling, gives me a better feeling there, because
it gives you more freedom.
Exactly.
Probably.
You're not like tripping on like, oh, I got to get this one thing because, you know, he did. Or like, if I see a shot that I want to run over and get, but I'll see him there, I have the confidence of knowing that he's going to get it, and he's going to do an awesome job, and it'll probably look as good, if not better, than I did. So it's just like, cool, he's doing it. And it's not like we're like fighting over like, oh, that was my shot. You know, it's whatever. We just get it. Like there's no even like words spoken as far as like we have a meeting and we're like, you know, you do this and you do that. And I don't want to see you over here because I'm here. It was not like that at all. It's just like, sometimes we'll see each other and be next to each other for a while, and then we just go away, whatever. Like we just, I don't know. It's just like an unspoken thing now. Yeah. And then we come together, and at the end of the day, we both have different styles, and like he's absolutely incredible, like long lens 300, like crushes it. Yeah. I'm more like wide angle, show the environment more and whatever. So like a lot of times our photos will be somewhat different just in that regard, but they're cool because they complement each other. You know, it's like you've got his amazing tight stuff and you got my like cool like wide angle perspective kind of thing. And so, you know, we can both shoot both things, but I think we each kind of gravitate towards those things. And so I think it just works out. It works out really well.
That's so cool. So did it allow you guys to grow a lot?
Grow, you mean like
business wise? Like you kind of knew you had the individual revenue, but it wasn't like 1 + 1 = 2. It was 100%. Like 1 + 1 = 6.
Yeah, and I think our formula too, like showed clients and showed people like you end up getting way more for your money, because essentially you're paying the same as you would have paid for one person before, but now you're getting two of the best of the best shooters who are, you know, shooting things differently, and you're getting like. So, I mean, it's like at the end of the day, every race, we're sending our clients probably close to 1,500, like dialed in, like edited, badass photos. Like that's past, like once we've culled all the stuff down to nothing. So it's like, the people are getting a lot more for the money than they were prior to that. So I think that's why the formula works so well, and it really is taken off, because it's like it's hard to do it by yourself.
Yeah, has it made it more fun?
Oh, for sure.
You?
Yeah, it's just fun to travel with people and not be on your own program. It's just fun to be with people. And now we have Casey Davis. He's joined us, and now he's just crushing it doing the video for us.
So he does the video stuff, eh?
Yeah, and then we have Trevor Nelson, who's recent, and now he's going to a lot of the races. Like if Ryan or I will now it's finally enabled us to miss a race here and there, because we always have 2 shooters or 2 still shooters at every race, but sometimes we'd want to take a weekend off, but we couldn't because you just are locked in.
Yeah.
Now we have Trevor, and he's amazing, just super talented, great to get along with, he's awesome. So I feel like that's a huge thing for us to now have him as our third person or third still person, because now we can. There's that flexibility. I can miss a race. I'm not going to this weekend. I'm getting tattooed this weekend.
Sick.
And years up until
that's just not.
I couldn't even do I couldn't make any plans, because it's
I remember that the time when we worked together the most, you were fucking under the pump, because it was just you.
Yeah.
And you were so busy and just never really able to take time for yourself.
Yeah, and that's been a really hard thing for me until it's all about connecting with the right people and knowing you can trust people, and I know
having the right team.
Exactly. And I don't have to babysit people, and that's there's been some people who have come and gone that some are better than others. Everyone's that we've ever been involved with super talented, but some people don't travel as well, or some people don't just little nuanced things. But once you get that crew, it just go really starts to make momentum. So I feel like we're at a really good spot right now, where with Casey's crushing the video, Trevor's amazing. He can do video too, but he's mostly shooting stills for us, and he's just insane. And it's cool because it's actually I feel like he's kind of like I was at that age, where he's definitely trying to push things a bit and doing some different stuff that even gets me inspired, because I'm like, oh, he's that's a really cool way to think of taking that photo, because there's only so much you can do at the races when you're kind of, you have these constraints of what you can do, but then, you have to get past that to get creative stuff. And I think he's really, really pushing it. So it's cool. I feel like we're at a really good spot, and I feel lucky to have that team with me and to be with cool people that you can actually enjoy traveling with and laugh with, and have good times, go get crumble cookies with at the so it's like this whole thing. I mean, every weekend is like Groundhog Day when we travel, as far as you fly somewhere, go to dinner, get up early the next day, grind through the day, first flight out Sunday morning. And so it's like this perpetual thing, but it's fun to do it with fun people, and it makes it a lot more enjoyable and a lot more easy to swallow to travel for 31 weekends a year or whatever, because you're with cool people, and it's having fun. And last weekend we went to we went to Seattle, and we got there early enough that we were like, hey, there's a baseball game tonight, let's go watch a baseball game. So we all went to the baseball game, and it's just stuff like that. It's fun, just kind of keep it fresh and do things you wouldn't normally do, because you're
just with good people.
Yeah, with good people. Exactly.
Do you have any big plans, or is there any next steps, or are you finally in the place where you're like, I'm livid, this is where I wanted to be?
I kind of feel like I've never been too big of a planner. I'm pretty pretty fly by the seat of my pants kind of person, in a way. I mean, I guess I do, I pretty plan, but I don't make massive goals for myself, or massive go in this direction now and everything else. I kind of just let life take me where it wants to lead me, really, I guess. And it sounds cheesy, but I think I just put a lot of weight into just following my passions, whether they're, with photography and just life in general, and just that's what I end up getting into, or what I do, or whatever. So it's I just kind of I don't think I put, maybe because I'm also just too busy to even think about it, but I don't really put next year I'm going to go after, these clients, and I don't have some spreadsheet of I'm just kind of go. I don't even with our clients for Octopi, we're lucky enough that most of them are repeat clients, and I'm not a big business salesperson, so I'm not like out there. We don't have anyone doing that, and I'm not the person who's out there pitching like sign up with Octopi. Like most of our clients are just people who like, hey, can we go get photos from you guys? We're like, yeah, here's the program, you know? So it's like, it's just, that's kind of how it works. And so it's like,
but that's like the equivalent of being the fastest rider. And then the team comes to you and they're like, hey, would you like to ride for factory KTM?
Kind of, I never thought of it that way, but yeah, it's kind of like that.
So when you just focus on being the fastest rider, the people come to you, you know, like you don't have to.
Pretty much what we thought about, honestly. And I never really thought of it from that perspective, but it's totally true. It's like, I'm not thinking of it in terms of like, you know, again, like the spreadsheet of like, we got to get these people and whatever. It's like, hey, hopefully we have enough money to make it to the races this year, and you know, whatever. And like every year it's kind of like that, but it all ends up working out. And like, you know, we put the passion and the work in, and
the rest takes care of itself.
Take care of it. Yeah, exactly. So like luckily we don't have to think. And I have thought about that. Like maybe we should get like a salesperson or something, but I don't know. It just seems to organically work itself out. Yeah, exactly.
Let's go to a baseball game.
And it's like at the end of the day, I'm not greedy by any means. And it's like, as long as I'm where I'm at, like happy with where I'm at in life, I don't need to chase, like, I don't have like I have to get whatever, like the next, I don't have any crazy goals.
Well, you
like,
already have a Levo 4.
Yeah,
so it's like, what the fuck else would you want?
Exactly. No, I feel like
you have a Tenere. Like, dude, you're killing it.
I feel so lucky in all the things that I have, and and I don't need it.
That's literally the secret to happiness.
It is.
Love what you have.
It is. Yeah, for sure. And love what you do and what you're capable of doing, and that I love like chasing stuff. But again, like I guess I just don't quantify it as much as like on paper, like I've got to do this. I just want to, it's back to that thing of always getting the better shot. I'm just always trying to do my best. And I feel like if you just live in that zone, the rest kind of falls by the wayside, and you're not sitting there stressing about like, you know, I have to make such and such a dollar amount or whatever. Cause I mean, I never in a million years thought I would make the living that I'm making shooting pictures. Like it's crazy, but like not that I'm in there, there's so many levels. It's not like I'm some crazy baller, but I mean, I'm totally content and like feel so lucky to be where I'm at in life doing what I do. So it's like, I just, you know, I guess that's why I'm not like purposely setting goals or like I have to get to this next, like I just always want to continually improve, but I'm also loving where I'm at. So I'm just like, I don't know. It's weird.
Have you ever had to fight the urge to not want that, or is that come natural to you?
I would say the only like urge I guess I have. The biggest urge I've fought has been like, should I get into video? Should I start doing video? Because I've seen so many people go, like now it seems like everybody can kind of do both, you know? But my whole thought on that has always been, I'd rather pick the genre or like the niche thing, and I'm going to keep doing it until I can't do it anymore, or until I can't get work like that anymore. And then maybe I'll look into other work. But I'd rather like, I guess like master of jack of all trades, master of none. I'm like kind of think of it in that term. Like I'd rather be the absolute like what best. I feel is the absolute best at my thing, and until that day comes when people are like, oh, we don't need a good still photographer anymore because everything's whatever now, AI or video, whatever. Then maybe I'll be like, oh, okay, I gotta like change gears. But at the same time, I'm not in a rush to do that at all. And I really like to kind of stick in my lane, because I feel like you dilute yourself if you turn into that person who can be like, oh, I can do sound and I can do video, I can do whatever. Like, yeah, you just become that person of like, I don't know, you don't have as much value. I think there's like some kind of a perception or something where I feel like I'd rather just put myself 100% into what I do.
Keep the main thing.
Yeah, and not dilute myself. And until I guess I have to, because I still would like, I'd way rather do video than I would anything else probably, but I would way rather do photo than I would video. So it's like, there's like that hierarchy, and until I have to like take a step down, I don't want to. So I'm just gonna try to stay.
That's the best. You're like, I don't want to. That's like the perfect answer.
Yeah, just like, I don't want to, I'm content, it's like,
But there's a thing about being the best at something. Like that you're always, if you're the top 1%, if you have an opportunity to be the best at something in your, whether it's a niche, whatever, whether it's like the NFL, Supercross, like if you can be the best, Like there is value in that if you can get to the top of your field, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's what you've really figured out.
And I think another thing that I like, back to being like the best or quote unquote, like that's another thing I never really like thought about or I don't really put much thought into, because I feel like, you know, you get to a certain level and everybody's really good. It becomes almost subjective as if someone's better than the other because you like their style. But like, I have like utmost respect for anybody who's out
you don't
there.
think of yourself as the best.
Exactly. 100%. But it's like,
but that's the goal.
Yeah. And it's the goal is like, just always like outdo myself, and not saying that I'm the best. I'm just saying outdo my own level. So even if I'm the fourth best that day, I want to be, you know, better than I was the day before. So it's like there's that constant self-improvement of like, you just want to chase that shot. And it's like, and again, it goes back also to that thing of like that. It's almost like a drug. Like when you get there and when you achieve that, like you get the shot that you wanted, there's such a feeling of like, it's hard to describe. Yeah. Fulfillment. It's like, there's nothing that compares to that to me. It's like, you could give me whatever, a brand new mountain bike, a brand new whatever. And it's like, it's nothing. It's still not going to compare to that feeling of like opening the computer and seeing the shot just like exactly how you want it. And it's sharp and you're just like, yeah, it's like, it's just like, that's like to me, almost like the best thing in life, really. So it's like, you know, and that's why I got into what I do and everything else. But it's like, there's just nothing that compares to that. And it's like even though it's almost like, you know, it could be perceived as being meaningless almost to some people, like, oh, your shot's just a little better, but like, I don't know, there's just something about it.
But I mean, that's one of my favorite sayings in life is the meaning of life is to make meaning from life.
That's
because
good.
At the end of the day, we're all going to fucking die. And none of this shit is going to mean anything. Mm-hmm. So on the macro scale, this is so fucking pointless. But you're here and you have to live, and there is a gap to fill between the time it was meaningless before you were alive and it's meaningless after you were alive, after you die. So like there's this whole time in the middle where it gets to be meaningful. So like find something that really does give you meaning, and then it's not trivial at that point, you know, like it actually is real. That's the best thing that you can do.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just finding that, like whatever it is, like just with that, like whatever it is, the passion you have, that's what's going to carry you, and like what's going to make you or break you is like how much you care about that thing and how much you love it and how much you want to, you know, I see some people who are crazy talented, but they don't want to put in the work, or, you know, vice versa. And it's like,
or they're crazy talented, but they want it for the wrong reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like people who are like, come in like with, you see, they have that eye, but they're just like, they go the wrong direction, you know. You kind of can tell, like, all right, that person's probably not going to make it because they're way too into being the cool guy, or they're way too into, you know, whatever. And it's like, that's just, at the end of the day, that's going to dilute you from your craft of what you're really there to do, you know? So,
it is hard to not compare to things, you know, like,
oh, for sure,
everything. I mean,
we're raised with that
wired
mentality,
with that,
right?
Yeah. But I was watching a thing as a podcast that I like, Chris Williamson, and he just had like this crazy week. He like did Rogan, like, so was a guest on there, and then he had this dude Naval on his podcast who's like, I've read all his books, listened to some of the podcasts he's done like 1,000 times. Like, there's so much wisdom in this dude, and he had like both those guys on in a span of a week. Jeez. And you're just like, fuck, I suck.
Yeah, but it's all relative.
It is all relative, you know, and it's like, and it's funny because I don't very often have those moments where I ever feel that way. Yeah. And it was like a really good reminder to be like, no, that's not how this is. Like, you have your great thing, and that's like, there's a reason, you know, like I think about the Tomac pod, and it's just like, that to me was like the greatest thing, because that delivered 3 hours of just never before like, no one's ever seen that dude. Like,
no.
Like
I
that,
mean, even
you know?
myself, like, you know, like,
you've been around him forever.
I've been around Eli, you know, since he was a little kid. I mean, literally since he was a kid. I remember, funny story about him. I remember the first time I actually did a shoot with him, it was at Zaka Station for DC Shoes. He was
No
on a
way.
RM80, and he was like the hot up and coming, like, and I'd heard of him, but I'd never worked with him, never met him, nothing. And he was awesome, and of course, like, grew up with John, like, being the man. Like, of course, John Tomac. I've always mountain biked, so like that was crazy. Like, just to even see John Tomac was a big thing. So, anyways, I remember we pull in to do our shoot, and he's obviously like, John's like you're doing motos, you got stopwatch, I'm thinking like, oh, cool, it's photo shoot, like we're gonna do all this creative stuff, and there's like, no, we're motoing. And so at the end of the thing, I get what I can get, and I took some, I got some cool stuff. And then at the end, the back in the day, the DC Shoes ads were always like one big action shot and mixed with like a lifestyle shot. So it was like that was the two things. I just had to walk away there with like one sick action shot and one sick lifestyle shot. So it usually involved like having the shoe, or it was just a person, whatever, a portrait, like a kind of environmental portrait of the person. So we go to do his portrait, and I'm like, all right, come over here, Eli. Like, I'm setting up my lights and getting all this stuff. And all of a sudden, John, he's like, no, I'm out of here. Like, this is past the time we're supposed to be leaving. So all of a sudden I start seeing this like sense of panic in Eli. He's just kind of like, oh, like, are you almost done? Like, I kind of got to go. And I'm like, I kind of see him like looking in the distance, and I'm thinking like, what? Like, what's going on? I look up, I look back behind me. John's pulling the motorhome down the way to leaving Zach. He's like, peace. Eli's like, I gotta go later. And just goes running after him, dude, and gets in the motorhome, and didn't see him again until he's a pro, So it's like,
no
seriously.
way,
So,
dude.
Yeah, so it's just funny, like so many little random stories.
That's
like that,
fucking
yeah.
crazy.
It was classic.
Oh, that's so on brand, bro.
So I was just like, whoa, this kid,
You're like, that kid's gonna be pretty fucking good.
Yeah. It was pretty eye opening. But anyway, yeah, I've had so many just funny, looking back, so many funny moments of these people at the top level. I mean, I was shooting because Red Bull had their Red Bull Jams program.
Yeah.
So like, I was shooting Cooper when he was, like just, little kid and his dad, talking surfboards with his dad. And, they're just, you have no idea who's going to be the man.
Yeah, I remember there was
years,
a Red Bull Jams thing. Were you on this? We're on Santa Monica Pier, and we were eating at Bubba Gump Shrimp.
Absolutely.
Were you there?
Yeah.
Dude, that's fucking crazy. Yeah.
I pretty much did like every one of those like jam shoots,
Yeah, I remember I met Coop there, met his dad there.
Yeah, how sick is that?
You're just like, yeah, this kid's cool as fuck, dude.
Jesse Nelson.
Jesse Nelson was there.
A lot of good people.
Yeah, Brandon Mays.
Yeah, Mays, yeah.
That was so sick.
Yeah, so it's cool. I mean, like I was, around all that stuff. And again, it's so funny because like at that time, you just have no idea who's going
to do great.
Yeah, who's going to be. I remember my first time shooting with AC, he was same thing. Like
DC?
He was, DC. And he was so hyped up. It was almost like, that was that level, like right around that time when these kids are like legit stars already. So it's I remember he was one of the first people that I was like excited to meet this little kid. I'm like, oh, dude, Adam Cianciarulo, like I can't wait to shoot with him. Like, heard all about him. He's going to be the best ever. And I mean, he's amazing. And so, and he was like, I just remember like there's certain things that stick in your head. I remember like meeting him for the first time, and he was just the most articulate, like well-spoken, just like, I'm like, this
takes you back a bit, eh?
Yeah, I'm just like it's insane. You don't even think of him as a kid after speaking with him, because he's just like, he just gets it. He gets like the whole everything. He's got it. He understands why I'm there, why he's there. Let's make cool shit.
Just a pro from 12.
Exactly, literally just a kid, dude, with like freckles and little kid, and he's just like crushing. Like it's crazy. So,
yeah, dude. Nah,
that's cool. Like I mean, it's cool to look back now on so many moments like that. I mean, you just like.
And I think one of the cool things as well, like especially a guy like AC, to talk about the whole industry, like people stay in the industry and you end up seeing them all the time, and like to see him now.
Yeah.
Like, what a fucking dude.
I know.
What a guy.
Crazy.
You know?
It's so cool. And he's another one that, like, again, after like knowing him as well as I did throughout his career, not that I like we're super good homies, but like just being around him enough, like I knew he was going to be amazing at what he's doing now, because like, just like you with the podcast, there's certain people who are just like, you just see them in that role. They're cut out for it. Like, he's just like, he's so smart, and he's just like, he's almost like, we always said that he's almost like too smart
for motocross
to be a top rider. Yeah, it's almost like, I don't know, and I don't know if has any truth, because obviously like.
But that's what it feels like, right?
Yeah,
like I agree with you.
Yeah, it's like he obviously had a great career, but I'm sure he would have wanted more championships and stuff. But maybe it just wasn't his thing because he wasn't able to turn enough off to do that. But
Yeah.
either way, we're super lucky to have him do what he did in motocross and now listen to him because he's amazing and he's articulate. He's been there. He has like, you respect him. You listen to him and go, oh, this is what it's like to do this because he's done it. So it's like, there's something about that that's really cool. And it's hard. There's not a lot of people in motocross who have reached that level of being a really good announcer or somebody who you really respect and enjoy listening to, but also have
walk
done
the walk.
It. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's really rare. And I mean, because again, it's a special thing to be able to do each one and be able to do both.
Yeah, it's like hard to do one right, let alone to be amazing at both of those skills. I remember I did an interview with him. It was just for like my own project that I was trying to make happen with Red Bull like years ago. And he was 17. He just moved to Claremont by himself. He was at the Baker's factory, but hadn't gone pro yet. And I did this like 50-minute long interview with him. That was like almost a podcast. Like I wasn't on camera, but like we were literally just having, because I was trying to get some like cool VO moments from him. So I was like, I'll just have like a conversation back and forward. And I remember leaving there, like pulling out of his driveway being like, I feel like he should be probably driving Formula 1, eh?
Seriously.
Like he was just like way too smart. I feel like there's a different thing he should do.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's just one of those people who and I think he's another person who'd be good at whatever he does because he gets it. He's a kind person. He has empathy for people. He's not just like, I'm the man. You suck. And I've seen a lot of people who come and gone who have been like that, who's like, and I don't want to name names, but there's been definitely like people who aren't as fun to work with and don't get it and are just more like, me. Yeah, exactly. Like you're just,
you're here for me.
Yeah. They don't get like the fact that, you're collaborating on something cool that they're going to be just as much of a part of because it's, at the end of the day, it's that the image, like, do you want to look cool in your shot? If I'm a rider, I want to look cool. I'm like, dude, let's link up and make the coolest shit. That's one of the things, back to the Brendan Semenuk thing. It's like, I always really respect him because he's one of the few guys who will get up at the crack of dawn to get the good light and whatever. It's like, that was one of the frustrating things growing up, like shooting freestyle and stuff. Cause a lot of times, like,
you'd be shooting at 10 because they'd be out on the piss all night.
Locations, like just the most beautiful, picturesque place in the desert. And you're just like, this is insane. And as soon as the guys get up to ride, it's, noon, the light's horrible, it's hot, it's windy. It's just like, you're just like, oh, it's like frustrating. Like, you're just like, we're almost there, but it didn't happen. Whereas like Brendan's like, oh, let's get up at 4 a.m. and like, let's do this and the light's going to be perfect. And, he gets that. So it's cool to see people in that of his level also understand production and also understand it's not just about his riding. It's also about, certain things that you can't emulate or you can't like,
you can't Photoshop.
You could do the absolute best trick, but if it's high noon, it's not going to look as cool as if it was at 6 a.m. when the light's just, popping over the mountain and it looks amazing. So it's like, there's those certain things that all has to come together to really get the great, great stuff that he gets. And it's like, that's why his stuff, I think, you almost can always bet it's going to be like the top of the level because he's
willing to put in the work,
the time and the work and the, all his lips are like, they look like they were manicured. Like they're
they're like with a duster.
It's insane. Yeah, literally insane. And so I have a lot of respect for that. And it's something that like you see in motocross, but not quite as much. I think he's definitely one of the guys who's really like brought that to the forefront of like, it's a huge,
and you can see that rub off on guys like Bereman.
Totally.
Like there's a couple dudes that you can really see.
Yeah, Bereman's totally one of the people who, and I remember thinking that when I first started working with Tyler, he was like, he's always been one of my favorites. We just like kindred spirits. Like Tyler's he's my boy. So
the best.
Yeah, he's the best. So like I remember shooting him the early days, like when he was just like kind of like a Grom on
Cowie,
DC.
Weed
like,
Maps.
Exactly.
DC.
Yeah, even before Weed Maps, like when he was just literally like, Nate Hawley, he was like, Nate loved him, and he was like, Nate's like, hey, Nate was DC. Nate's like, hey, he's, you're gonna shoot Jeremy today, but you're also gonna shoot Tyler.
Were you there the day at Ritchie Canyon when it was Windham, McGrath, and TB?
I don't think so. No, sounds epic. But
There was a day that was one of those Nate Hawley days. Tyler was like on a Cowie, still trying to race Supercross, had like the DC weed maps deal.
I don't know. I could have been. Honestly.
But it was just like, it was exactly that. And it was like, here's K-Dub, here's Jeremy and Tyler.
Yeah.
And Tyler was ripping out of his skin.
He was so sick. And like, like there'd be days like that where I'm like, I'd rather shoot him than like the big name guys because he's
grinding to get the shot.
That passion. You could just see it. And he's just like, and he'll like, oh, I'll do it again. I'll do it again. Like, just like he gets it. He totally understands that. Like, it's not just about him. It's also about the whole package of like, we got to get this shot the right way and everything else. So I remember like early days of shooting him on any DC project, and he would always crushed it. And then I remember they brought him in for when MOTO did aircraft. So when MOTO did the airplane graveyard, they brought Tyler in to like do some camera work, like where they mounted a camera on top of front of his bike to chase Robbie around and everything. And like same thing, like he just blew minds. Like he was just like doing stuff that was insane. And he was like, he showed everyone like, I'll go the next level. I can't remember, something happened where I think the camera broke or he crashed really bad or something, but he's just like got back up. He's like, I'm going to do it again. Like he's just like put in the work to make it happen. And then those kind of moments like really stick out. And I remember thinking like, dude, Tyler's sick. And then it just kind of snowballed. And then actually I feel like somewhat like 1% shred of like kind of helped him get to where he's at, because not that he wouldn't have done it on his own, but because I was so involved with Red Bull at that point. I mean, I was shooting a ton of stuff for Red Bull. And so it just so happened they were having like this athlete meet and greet the day before the first day of X Games in Minnesota. And so they had like this little party thing on this rooftop. They rented out a rooftop. They'd have me come in and do portraits of all the athletes. So they'd be Scheckler and all the Red Bull guys would all be there. Everyone would be there. And at some point, like I remember asking Steve, I think it was pretty sure it was Steve. I was like, hey, like, you know, Tyler. And I was like, you know, he's like really wanting to push towards getting into this, you know, this genre. Like, what do you think? Like having him, and he's like, dude, bring him to the meeting. So, or bring him to the shoot. So he went there, and like I think a few weeks later they ended up signing him. So it was like one of those things. Like by no means am I taking any credit for anything, but I'm just saying
you could see him
cool
in that.
Yeah, I could see these paths crossing perfectly,
and
like,
doing what they did.
I'm like, he's the guy. He's the Red Bull guy. Like he's gonna do all this cool stuff, and he's gonna do content that other people aren't capable of. Between his style, his level of riding, and his work ethic. I'm like, he's gonna do stuff it's gonna blow people's minds. And
lo and behold,
sure enough.
Yeah.
So again, not like I'm saying I had too much to do with it, but I do feel.
But you did.
I feel happy. No, I feel happy about, you know, making those connections in life, because, you know, you see people who are like deserving
of
like,
that thing.
This guy could take this and run, and do something incredible.
And then just farm jam.
Exactly.
Like the first thing he ever does in a Red Bull helmet.
Yeah, he just went right into just mind-blowing stuff, and the rest is history. I mean, he's crushing it. And so it's like, and also to see like what Tyler's gone through with like injuries and stuff like that. I mean, can't keep the guy down. He's just insane. Insane with Axel. I mean, it's like, dude, Axel, 3 broken femurs, and dude still just the most insane riding. And it's like, I don't know how
he's a freak.
Yeah.
Bro.
How do you get back into that? Like, dude, when I shot with him yesterday or 3 days ago, whatever, on mountain bikes, rode a mountain bike he's never ridden before. He's ridden it like one time, but he was like fresh in the morning. He's got t-shirt, shorts, or he's got a Padres jersey on, shorts. I don't even think he had maybe a helmet, and that's it. Like no gear, nothing. Hits the biggest jump in the whole place and just lands right into this like perfect nose wheelie down the whole thing on a mountain bike with a tire that's like an inch across. And he just nailed it the first time. And I'm just like, how can you be like, I get it even on a dirt bike because he's done it so many times, but it's like he's not a mountain bike. I mean, he is like, he rips, but he's not like a paid mountain biker. And for him to know that weight balance, to be able to land from a big jump and have the confidence to land in a nose wheelie and know you can do that without, like on a BMX or a mountain bike, I would think you would just skid out and eat shit or whatever. Like it's a whole different beast than a motocross bike. And he just does it first try, like nothing, like just like, it's like walking the dog. I'm just like, it's just crazy.
You're like, how are you that good?
It still blows me away to this day to see guys of that level, of that talent. It's just like, and that's why I love doing what I do, is just being around.
Yeah, you're
that.
around
It's just
greatness.
So cool.
Yeah,
It's like, it's, you know, I have to pinch myself sometimes because I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, this is not normal to be with people who can do this kind of stuff. It's crazy. I mean, but I love it. And it's so fun to watch and just take it in. And just like, I love being around that talent level and just like seeing, and again, not that it even inspires me on that, like exact thing, or like, I'm not gonna be like, I'm gonna go try that now because I'll kill myself. But it inspires me in a way of like, just him being just so good and so confident and just like whatever. And I feel like, you know, in my own realm, I'm like that with my cameras, but it's like, it's just different, much different and way less risky and everything else. But it's like, it just brings a level of respect,
I know exactly what you're saying. And it's like when you just see someone that's just so good at what they do, and you know, like he's had to put in so much time and effort to just be that effortless.
Totally. You know? And then to see MC, who's in his like, you know, 50s, just same, like just mind blowing. He's so good, just like hitting every jump that Axel's hitting, no problem.
No way.
All the style, just like, it's crazy. It's like, I mean, he's insane. I can't imagine being,
and he just had a hip replacement.
Need to. Yeah,
he just had a hip replacement.
Doesn't need to do any of this. Yeah, he's just so good and just so cool. And I just, guys like that, I just look up to so much, and just so many levels. Like, not just their riding or just it's just everything. Their personality. They're like willing to, like, there's no ego.
Dude, that's
no one's
the crazy
cooler than
thing.
anyone. Like, Jeremy's like just as cool as he was 35 years ago when I met him. You know, before he had a factory ride, he's just as cool.
Before he was the best Supercross racer of all time,
the king. Yeah, it's like, it's crazy, and it's like, I have to pinch myself when I'm around that kind of talent, and just even think like, this is crazy. Like this.
I think every time I'm around him, I always say in my head, "Fuck, he really is the king."
Really,
like that's like the best way that
it holds up.
Yeah,
really
like
does.
he really is the fucking king.
He's so good. I mean, he's just, and again,
just cool,
such a nice person. Yeah, approachable.
His wife's awesome. His kids are awesome.
Great family guy. I mean, I just so much respect on so many levels. It's crazy.
Dude, so I made you stay up until fucking 2 o'clock in the morning looking at photos. Let's look at. We'll look into it. I got to get my mouse. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, for sure.
We have the latest and greatest in the moto gaming experience with Monster Energy Supercross 2025, the official video game. Milestone, the studio behind the game, have rethought and redesigned some of the game's core mechanics from the ground up using Unreal Engine 5. This fresh and redefined experience is not only the best graphics and physics that gaming has to offer, but the collaboration with Monster Energy means that this is also the most immersive career, bike, and story experience. The ship has sailed for me, ever lining up at A1, so this is about as close as I'll ever come. The physics are totally new, built from scratch, ruts change throughout the races, and the AI actually adapts to how you ride. Not only that, the new career mode is addictive too. It's fully dynamic so that every season is different, and for the first time, they've packed in the full 2025 championship, including SMX, and we even have two-strokes. Plus, it's full cross-play, so you can battle your mates no matter what platform they play. It really is amazing how good the gaming experience is right now. Monster Energy Supercross 2025 is in stores now on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series XS. All right, yeah, so I made you go this way a little bit too. There you go. Oh no, now I made you go too far this way. All right, so I made you stay up late to go through some of the photos, and I said one every year, and you were like, "That's never gonna."
I tried to do one every year, and I got about 2 hours into the first year, and I started doing the math, and I'm like, all right, it took me 2 hours to do 1 year, and I got to do 20 years. I'm probably not going to make the show. You're going to probably stay up all night. So I started kind of going through stuff a little quicker. And that's why sometimes now there's like multiple stuff from one thing. So I couldn't narrow it down because I was just trying to rip through stuff. But I just tried to pick a bunch of just different things. And some of the some of the things I picked for different reasons, maybe because they were pivotal moments in my career, or I just like the shot or whatever. So I ended up.
Some of the stuff we're on together.
Yeah, I'd pick some stuff that we were on together, stuff that I first met you on, and then there was you asked me to do 20 shots, and I ended up with 272. So
this is like basically your career in a nutshell.
In a bit,
like that right there.
Yeah, exactly. Minus,
I gave you 300 great photos. Couldn't pick.
Yeah, pretty much. So I figured we'll have to come through and just go through some of them because it's just way too hard to pick. But yeah, there's a lot of.
Where do you want to start? Is there anyone? Is there any photo that you want to?
No, I would say eeny, meeny, miny, moe, whatever you think's interesting. I'll tell you some stories about.
What's this?
So this is.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
you probably recognize some of the cast of characters in this. So this is like the early days of those big free ride tours. So this is Tommy Clowers up there, Dane Herron, who ended up becoming like the man with building all the jumps for all the Red Bull X Fighters, everything else, and he's amazing. So, he used to be a insane pro rider now, and now he's become an insane track builder or builder. Drake McElroy, Matt Byton right there.
Yeah.
So just a lot of the boys hanging in the motorhome on one of those big trips we did. So we did. I can't remember which tour this was, but we did a bunch of those tours, once that started becoming a big thing with like the free ride stuff, like those early days, we would do these like, tours through the Southwest and stuff like that. Like the, whatever it was usually filming something, but like something for fuel TV or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is one of those trips like that where we're, probably on a week or two long road trip, all hanging, living in a motorhome and just having fun, being young kids. And, I was just capturing the moments on the way through. So it was really fun. It's like, that's kind of like, these were those moments again of like shaping my creativity, but also being with the homies and having a good time, but also trying to capture really cool stuff. And exactly. And do what I saw people doing in Thrasher and Transworld Skate. Going on these cool road trips with the athletes and getting the behind the scenes moments of them, drinking beers and playing poker this is probably a wind day, guarantee you. We probably couldn't ride right now because it was windy. So, we'd mess around in the motorhome or just go do fun stuff and whatever. I mean, there's so many stories and funny times like that, but just capturing those moments. And so this was a lot of fun. I'm trying to think if this was
2007.
So this one's not that old, but it does
on a 5D.
Yeah. So this is, there's definitely a lot of stuff before this, but I think this is maybe from the Great Ride Open. I'm pretty sure this is Great Ride Open.
Dude, look at the phones, Blackberries.
Totally, right?
Flip phone.
Yeah.
iPod.
Yeah. So this, it's just, I loved being in that. I still do love being in those moments and those scenes where, you're capturing, like, I mean, Teton filmed this stuff. So it's like, that was such a cool time because that's such a like cool production company that's done so many cool projects. And I feel lucky that I happened to be there when they did a really cool freeride project. So, there's just so many moments like that I've been around to capture, and I feel lucky to do it all.
It's such a simple photo, but just so cool. And it just tells you the time. That tells you everything about the time right there.
Yeah, exactly. Just trying to capture those little slices, so.
That's so sick. So, all right. Wow. So there's like so much cool shit.
Travis Pastrana, that's a good one.
Which one?
The roof gap. That was one of my favorite ones back in the day. So this one is just insane. The level of just his talent. Like, so the way these buildings are like next to each other, and there's really like, it's kind of hard to tell, but do you see like where Travis is? His takeoff is that little black thing on the side there. Just in front of his front wheel in that photo. So he basically had to start there, hook a massive 90-degree turn and just right into the ramp. So there's no run up. There's no run up at all. His run up is literally what you see. Like that building, just the roof ends at behind that. So he literally just comes up and goes rah, and just commits into doing, 100 feet above the ground, and something that if something went wrong, he would 100% die. Like you can't live through that, right? Like if you taste that building, you're gonna die. I mean, it's like 7 stories high or something. So it's like, you know, just, yeah, that was crazy. So the funny story behind that one is that was the day after the LAX games. And so I spent the whole week at LAX games shooting every day. And those are like
big days.
And for Red Bull, you're shooting everybody. So you're shooting
skaters.
Literally, you're going from, you're like half the stress is just figuring out your day, your plot of like, okay, this event ends at this time. I got to run over to this venue, got to run over to this venue. Sheckler's hit this. It's just like crazy. So the week, it's bottom line, a hard, stressful week. So last day of X Games, you're what, 20, probably late 20s, early 30s. It all finished. You just had the crazy, stressful week. What do? You go party. So the night before this, I was blackout drunk. But then of course I heard about this opportunity of, hey, Garth, Travis is going to do this crazy, this is at the American Apparel buildings. Travis is going to do this crazy flip over these buildings. Do you want to come shoot it? I'm just like,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So pull my hungover.
I'm still drunk, but yeah.
Pull my hungover body. And I remember just being brutally in pain at that point. But I'm like, all right, I can't miss this. So go out there, hang off this like, because you can kind of see my camera's like quite far into the. So I'm like kind of hanging off this building and like it's pretty sketchy, nothing crazy, but like just. And it was hot, and I just remember just being like in horrible shape. But I remember being so excited to watch Travis do this, and then he just did it that one big one, and he did it again, but he didn't do the knack flip like that. And I just remember like it just blew my mind. It was such a cool thing to see and to be a part of. That it was like it just snapped me out of my hangover. It was crazy. It was like I was just like all of a sudden I was locked in. I was like, this is crazy, and it ended up becoming like again one of my favorite sequences, not only because of what he's doing, but I just love
the composition of that. I love so the composition.
Nice. There's just so much to it. And that's one thing, like growing up as a skater, I always like was jealous of the fact that skaters have this cool landscape, like, city playground to mess with. And I only have dirt for the most part, dirt and clouds and some blue sky. So it's like, I always felt like, man, I wish I had like architectural elements to go off of to work into my photos. So this was one of those moments where I felt like almost it was like my roots of a skateboard photographer or something. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like combine this cool cityscape with Travis's amazing dirt bike capabilities. So it was a really cool one, and just one of the ones that I just really like. It ended up coming out really cool, and it was really I was lucky to be a part of it, but it was really, really fun.
And that's just one of those times like where you just get one shot to nail it. Like
you really do.
He only did that one time, and it's just like completely dialed.
Yeah.
And if you fuck up, no one ever knows that happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
What else we got here? This is like another cool sequence.
Yeah. So this is kind of back in that, what I was talking about, back in that zone of when I went into that kind of idea of like doing a lot of other stuff outside of just motocross, right? So so this was a really cool project that I got turned on. It was a Red Bull because they do the diving series. Yeah. So
cliff jumpers or whatever.
Yeah, so it was a Red Bull athlete, but the actual project was it was a like tourism thing for Bermuda. So we're in Bermuda to shoot this. And it was like they were basically like wanting to combine because they have a bunch of really cool cliff diving opportunities there. So they wanted to get a Red Bull athlete and they wanted to get a Red Bull photographer to like capture that, to use for their tourism stuff. So this was actually more of a commercial shoot that, I went along the lines of my background, but it was like my kind of getting into like that whole commercial realm of like, oh, you can actually make like really good money shooting the same kind of stuff, but doing it on more of a commercial level. Yeah. And that also led into, or not led into, but another opportunity I had that was like a really big deal was same kind of thing happened is the National Guard was looking to do their new campaign for like, National Guard recruitment, whatever else. And so they tapped into me because they wanted.
Yeah, I was on that with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I forgot you were on that. Yeah, so they wanted.
They wanted action sports.
They wanted an action sports look. So like their whole thing was like we wanted to look like a Red Bull shoot, like that cool Red Bull look, only with our guys doing cool stuff too. Yeah. So that's what we went about to do. And so I put some of those shots in here too. I think they're really cool. Like they're just.
Do you remember? one of the, because they had like, they were like the National Guard models essentially. Like they're all just like TV trained people basically.
Yes, yeah.
Do you remember him telling us like, oh yeah, the last director that did this was Zack Schneider?
Yes, dude. Yes,
we looked at each other like,
yes.
That's
so funny.
I did not charge enough for this.
I didn't remember
bro.
that until you said that. And now I'm like, yeah, no. It's like
we both looked at each other. We're just like,
yeah.
He just directed 300. What the fuck? It was like,
there's probably
we did this way too cheap or what?
So many things like that I can do. Yeah,
we should try and find.
Is so true though. Yeah, I put some of the shots in there.
I actually have a photo of you on my Instagram, and you were abseiling off the top of that thing. Remember?
Yeah, we're on that thing. Yeah,
yeah.
Keep going up. It's. No.
Where is it?
They're definitely on here. Oh, right there.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Yeah. So some of those.
Yeah, I remember you just full. I mean, I have the photo on my Instagram. Like I took a video or photo of whatever of you. Like
because I was hanging down,
rappelling down,
setting up, got all the lights all set up, and tried to kind of emulate how we would shoot the action sports stuff and try to. Like go left on your cursor a couple.
That was cool, eh? We were there at Cape Cod. We were there for like almost a week, maybe.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah. So really cool stuff. Capturing how these guys train to try to make it look as cool as you can, like using, with your lenses and stuff. So I thought it was and again, it's back to that thing of like, it's not what I normally do, but it's a cool challenge that I enjoy rising up to.
That was the Gone Rogue.
It was, yes. Your boy went rogue.
Who was that old guy?
Yeah, it was. I can't remember his name.
What was his deal?
I think he was just I think he was maybe from the agency or he was producer. I think he was a producer, and he was just one of those guys like now that we've met 100 times now in like Hollywood type jobs.
He was just one of those guys.
He was like one of those guys, and I still work with people just like that.
Do you still deal with that guy in particular?
Not that guy in particular. No. But I mean. There's been a bunch since him who have that same
I've never
vibe,
never experienced anything like that.
And so that's the thing is like it woke me up to those kind of experiences woke me up to this whole other world of like, this is how these big productions are, and there's these people like this, and like
he was like the cliche Hollywood
100%,
executive. Yeah. Kind of guy that
he's like out of Entourage,
like yelling at everyone,
high strung, just like the man, like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, no.
I can't remember like what it was, but I remember just like kind of taking a couple of we just had like a couple shots we were gonna get, and I was like, all right, let's just go, we'll get the shots and we'll come back. Like this doesn't have to be a whole thing. Yeah. And I think that's where it's like, you're going rogue. Yeah. We're just trying to do the job, bro.
That's one of the big things I've like seen or noticed that difference between like growing up as an action sports
world.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. You get these things of like, you're just
making it happen.
You're making it happen, and you're just in the streets doing it. There's no permits. There's no nothing. You're just doing it. And so like, once you get into these bigger jobs, it's just a whole other world of like these like pecking orders.
Different game, yeah.
I mean, I had a job a while ago where it was for Honda, a big commercial one, and the video crew just did not like me. You could just like the whole time anything I did, they were just like literally try to like screw me over basically because I was just like in their way basically. So at one point, the main camera's here, and I'm just trying to get like a sliver of like what's going on in the action, so I'm like literally like
you're just trying to get crumbs.
Yeah, and I'm just like contorted in this weird spot between like the grip stuff and the director, and I'm just like literally like in this spot, and I'm like huge, obviously this massive person, and trying to be as like small as I can. And I remember one of the guy, like the grip guys, came over and I'm literally like balancing on one leg, and he just like, I know for sure now purposely, he just like pushed me over and it basically tweaked my knee super bad. And like I fell over and all this stuff, and they were probably having a big laugh at it, but it's like I started to learn that like this is how it is. Like this is, you transition from like being the man at your shoot when you're like you and a couple dudes on dirt bikes in the hills, and all of a sudden you're on this big set and there's like this whole other hierarchy and this whole other thing. So
Yeah, you just got to play like this whole different game.
You do. And it's like, I've learned a ton from just being on the job and just doing that now. And so now it's like, I get it, but it's like, yeah, there's a lot of shocks and a lot of things that are like that, where you're just like, whoa, this is how it is, huh? Like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I honestly felt that a bit at the UFC when I went recently. I was like, oh yeah, no one gives a fuck. I'm literally nobody. I'm just like, sit down. Yeah. I just opened up, I didn't have any work to do. So I'm like, open up my laptop, did some emails. Yeah. I'm just like, what the fuck?
It's funny.
No one cared. It was so funny.
Yeah.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
You might have some of the best photos of Jimmy of all time. You guys worked really well together.
I think so, honestly. That's another. He was another like huge catalyst of my whole career and
really?
Where I'm at now. 100%. Yeah, because for whatever reason, he and I I don't know what it is. I think he just
didn't like many people.
He didn't. No, and he had that reputation.
Yeah.
But like for some reason, he and I just hit it off, and like he was just cool. I think it's because I'm super low profile. I try not to make a big scene or I'm just kind of fly on the wall kind of guy. And it just worked. But he just he just was so good to me and brought me in on so many cool projects, and like really, not that I hadn't established myself already, but he really established me as like, almost like his shooter. And it was like kind of the first time I ever even really saw that. Cause like, I'd shoot with everybody, Windham and whoever, but I never really
felt like, shot with everybody.
Yeah, exactly. I never felt like any of those guys had, it was just whoever was shooting that day. And I never felt like there was ever that kind of thing. Whereas like, Brendan, he's got his guy.
He's got his guy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so it's like, and I've seen that in other sports, and same with skaters. They have like their, like one guy will travel with one crew a lot of times, whatever. But like, yeah, he, for whatever reason, James kind of took me under his wing, and like and I think, obviously there's a lot of like just dynamic going on there. His dad's gnarly, greatest guy ever, but his dad's the gnarly, like
they run a
intense
program.
Person and stuff. Yeah. So like just being there, I think like I rolled with the punches as well there. I didn't get in people's way.
Got great photos.
I just got my stuff without any hassle or any extra work from them. And they were always like stoked. And like James, you could just tell, like we'd finish a shoot and James would text me like right away, like stoked, like I can't wait to see the photos. What do you got? Kind of thing. And like that was cool. Like that like motivated me even more to be like, oh, I gotta like just really like step it up. And he wasn't the easiest in terms of like,
he would do it twice.
Exactly. Like you just had to be on your shit.
Yeah,
like you could not mess up with him. I mean, because he's not doing it again. Like,
no.
Like straight up. Like there's no controlling when he's doing it. Like you could walk, because the skies changed so much in Florida. So I can remember like being there and like watching the clouds and going like, oh shit, when's he gonna ride? Oh, come on, James. Yeah. And like, but you can't tell him. You're not gonna be like, hey James, go ride real quick. The light's good. Yeah.
Come on.
Like he's gonna ride when you ride.
Yeah.
So it's like you just gotta be ready. And so, but I kind of thrive off that too. I like that. Like it's fun to like work with somebody like that. And like he's just so freaking talented and amazing. It's like whatever he does is gonna look good, but there's not a lot of opportunities and there's not a lot of go back and do it again and whatever. It's just like,
yeah, he would literally just be like,
yeah,
that's it.
Riding, I did
I'm
like
done.
2 motos, that's it, I'm out. Like, what do you get? And like that's it. So I think he working with him taught me a lot. Taught me to be really
efficient,
really just like thinking of the next thing of like how can I capture, because it wasn't lost on me that it was a special, like just being there was special alone. Just being
to go through those gates.
Yeah, exactly.
At that time.
Exactly. Being at the Ponderosa, that's like pinch myself just to be there. And so I'm like, I'm not blowing this. I'm going to do
They didn't let many people in back then either.
No. And so like the pressure that I would like put on myself was just insane, because I would just be like, I can't mess this up. So yeah, it really like was good for me too, because I think it really helped shape like my overall me as a photographer. So
dude,
a lot of fun times with James though, and just cool stuff,
Let's go to the scrub one that I was on with you.
Oh yeah,
I wasn't here this day. I think this,
but same time.
This is the best one.
Yeah,
I think that's the best one.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite shot. And this literally, so this is a great example. Okay, so I watched that cloud bank come, and I'm like, oh my god, I really want those clouds in my photo. I really want them, but I was, again, the clouds move so fast in Florida, and I was watching them come over, and I'm like, we literally have another like minute until those clouds are going to go over, and it's going to be overcast the rest
It's going to be all clouds.
everything gray.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just like in my head, just like, please, like get out here, like go, like just trying to rush things along as much as I can, and like realizing. And so all my lights are all set up, everything's good, and he comes out and just does his James thing and just freaking crushes it. And it was just like, again, like the minute it happened, I was just like, it's like there's no better feeling in the world to me than being there in that moment and knowing that you're just like getting this insane stuff of like this vision you had in your head for so long. Cause I like, James is the best scrub in the world. Like I want to capture this scrub, but on the right jump with the right background, with strobes, all this stuff. So like having that stuff all come together is like, it's such a crazy cool feeling. And when it actually happens, like when he actually did it and I looked down and I actually got the photo, it's just like you probably given me a stack of $1 million and you would have
turned it down.
It probably,
to keep that
it's
photo.
like seriously, like it's just like that feeling. There's just no way to describe it as a photographer. It's just the best. You just like I live for it, seriously. So it's like that was one of those moments where and then I look back and there's certain things I could have done differently, but again, knowing the time schedule I had and by myself, and Tom Shields was there helping me hold a light too. But like for the most part, I was just by myself, bringing these massive lights, trying to set them up, have them in the right place in the right time when he's finally ready to ride, and all this. It's like to actually have it all work out. It's just like such a great, cool feeling, And so it's like, I look back and like just what he's able to do. I mean, like the fact that he like that jump right there, he was
that was a fourth gear jump.
Yeah, and he was telling us how he would literally like he's crashed before because he'd scrub so hard his brake lever would hit the ground.
Yep.
Which is just insane. And it's like, it's just
that was the thing that blew me away. So we'll go to the shoot that I was there. But yeah, he's like literally in fourth gear doing that. It's not like a he's like like that is
insane.
Crazy.
Insane.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I will go to the one because I was on the one where we did the video of it.
Right at the top.
Is it the top? There.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the day that we did the slow series thing for Red Bull.
Yep. Slow-mo.
Bro, part of me died that day.
What do you mean?
Because I just got the shot.
Oh yeah.
I was
like it doesn't get any better than this.
Literally, I remember we looked down at it and there was one that was just so fucking good, and I was like, I don't think I can do anything better like in Moto. Like I'm probably never topping.
Kind of right.
And I didn't. I literally quit.
True, yeah.
I was like, I'm out.
I mean, that was like that was literally like the peak moment of his riding of cameras, like having that crazy slow mo. I mean, that's insane. It just all kind of came together to be a really special moment, and that's like, again, that's the stuff I live for. Is like these moments happening like that, where it's just everything comes together, and you don't know when it's going to happen. Always, we could have gone that whole day and not gotten shit, which has happened before. So it's like, I mean, it's like you don't know, but when it all does come together, it's just such a special, cool feeling, and it's just like it's what we live for.
He was a beast to work with too. Like it's one of those like you want to talk about aura.
Yeah.
Fuck,
100%.
he had the craziest aura, dude.
100%.
And it was so weird because, like, remember we went golfing that day?
Yeah.
And he, like, I don't know if I've told this story, but, like, we're on this exact shoot and we go to James's house and he's like, all right, come in a day early. We'll play some golf. We'll cruise. And he's living at Arnold Palmer's course, which is like one of the best courses.
It's the only time I've played golf to this day. I've like with James at Arnold Palmer's course. I was like, drop the mic. I'm out.
Well, and I was super into golf at the time too.
You were,
so for me, I was like, this is the dopest shit.
Yeah.
He bought us all golf shirts.
Yep.
Because you had to have specific clothes.
Yep.
Yeah. He probably dropped like $500 or $600.
Yeah. I remember that.
Just so we could golf.
I remember being in the pro shop with you, just like giddy, like kids, like, what shirt you gonna get?
Oh, yeah, dude.
But looking back, I do like, really do think, and I could feel it that day. I feel like a lot of that was the energy you brought, because I was always really cool, James. I mean, but I never I was always like a little bit like not scared, but like intimidated by
Yeah,
his
like a little
greatness.
bit.
You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah,
Seriously,
yeah.
like a little bit like this guy's the man. Like I'm almost like scared to be too much of myself. I'm just kind of like, just lucky to be there. But like you are just so like you just break people down in a good way where you're just like you're so personable and such a down to earth person where it's like you connected with James right away. And I was just like, and it just became like this thing where we're all just like friends almost like,
It was
hey, we're all just gonna go golfing. Let's go have fun. And it was like, it just, I don't know. If I felt like it crossed or I'd hit a different
level with him.
After that trip.
Oh, that's
where
cool,
It's like,
eh?
yeah. And I feel like a lot of it was because of you and Jay. I mean, we just had, we all had a good time. We just hit it off, had a fun time doing it. It's like, so I think it's like, it goes a long ways, those personality things and everything else. It's like I feel like you really broke it down to where it wasn't like, filmer rider. We were all just bros going golfing that day, which was like a really cool thing to be a part of. So it was cool. And I learned from that too, because I start to learn, start to see like, you can't just talk about dirt bikes with these people. There's a whole other side.
Well, yeah, I just knew that he loved golf.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm decent at golf. He loves golf. Like, before this big shoot, because that was a big project, with like shooting all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And, I was just like, it would be really cool. As a golfer, I'm like, I just know if I go play golf with cool people, like that's going to make my day better,
Oh, for sure.
So, but it was, he was he was so like gnarly to work with, but then he was such a good person away from it. And he had like a weird reputation with a lot of people that were like, oh, he's hard to work with and he's this and he's that. And I don't know, maybe if it was the way that I approached him or whatever, but like, dude, he was the nicest dude and he would be a hard ass to work with. And like, even this day, he was like, nah, I'm done.
Yeah.
He probably did it like 6 or 7 times max.
Probably, yeah.
The whole day. Then we did like the walk-in voiceover shit with him.
Yeah.
And then like, that's it.
Yeah.
But like, he was fucking gnarly while he was there.
Just everyone he's throwing down.
Like,
and dude, so I've since that I've seen that mentality with other people where I've been shooting. I remember that it reminds me really much, really a lot of Blake Griffin shoot where we were shooting him doing dunks.
I'll go to it now. Keep talking.
I'm not sure if it's even on here.
I think I saw something.
There's that. That's a different NBA shot. But yeah, so
I remember your Blake.
Maybe
Griffin
he's on there.
shoot.
But yeah, I did a lot of work with Blake too. And I remember the same thing. It's like you get to the shoot and you have in your head you have this vision of like, oh, Blake's gonna do 100 slam dunks and I'll capture him in all these different creative ways and stuff. We get there and dude, he's literally gonna do 7 dunks that day.
I remember this. I remember this.
Count them. So his agent's there. He's like, okay, that's number 3. And so he just have like this pressure because your
like,
shot list
fuck.
is like they want you to shoot it from all these different angles and all this different stuff. And so you're just like, I better not screw this up.
Yeah,
I got like pretty much one shot at each one, and that's it. And so it's like that mentality. But the greatest people, I think, are kind of like that. Because they're doing something at such a level, especially with James. Like, he's taking such a risk doing it every time, and to really do because he wanted to do it.
He was really
fully
doing it.
scrub because he's like, hey, I'm going to do this proper. So he,
and he said he didn't like doing it.
Yeah.
He's just like, this is pretty
sketchy.
scary.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, being an inch off your dirt bike, like going 40 miles per hour, like.
I remember, like that was literally the peak.
Yeah.
Like just looking at that, I was just like, fuck.
Yeah. Doesn't get much better.
Can't do. That was the best camera at the time.
Yeah.
The best rider, the best everything. And I always loved whenever I shot with you. Like, gave me so much confidence when I shot with you because I was like, I'll just do whatever he says. Like, I'll just go.
That's funny because I'm thinking the same thing. So.
But you were doing like you were photo and it wasn't video.
Yeah,
but I'm just like, no, like he knows. As long as I'm like kind of where he is, like I can't fuck this up. I want to ask you actually, like in this part of your career, because like I was looking at you as the man. Like that was the best. Everything you, like I said, I would literally just go and do what you did because I knew you would do it right and I wouldn't ruin it. But like, what was your, like, did you have my mentality where you were like, fuck, I hope I don't fuck this up?
Oh,
like,
I still do all the time. Yeah.
So you're not at the level where you're just like chilling and it's like.
I go back and forth on that. Like anybody in their own head, it's like there's days when I'm like there's just no question in my mind, this is where you got to be. And then there's other days where you're kind of like, everything looks shit. Like, what do I do to like really, make this
Polish
cool?
this turd.
Yeah. I mean, there's days like that where it's like maybe the light's horrible or you're in a bad location or whatever. And like, it's up to you visually to like make it interesting. So that's when I feel like it's a little more like, oh shit, I got to really think about this. Whereas like, on a good day, it just is like
You're
almost
just not
innate,
trying,
like natural. But those there are days like that, 100%, where I'm just like, man, what do I do to like really? And there's races like that. Like certain tracks are just horrible, or not horrible, but really
it's difficult
to make them look cool. And and that can be whether, because I don't know if people know this, but like every week, this, but a lot of the people listening probably don't. You have a map of where you can be and where you can't be, and usually there's more areas that you can't be than you can be. So
there'll be like maybe 3 zones a week.
Like, and so you really have to like be creative to make the most of those spots, to make it all look different, to deliver your 800 selects that are all different, not the same turn or the same jump or whatever. So that's a lot of that. And sometimes I enjoy that almost, because it's like, even though it doesn't look good, or it's like hard to make look good, at the end of the day, it's more gratifying to you ended up getting stuff you're proud of with a crappy situation. Yeah. So I think that's on my shoulders at that point, where I gotta, the either way, nobody who's looking at the photos understands that weekend's way harder than the weekend before, because the track was way easier to shoot or whatever. There's all those little things. Yeah. They just expect to see a cool photo. So sometimes that's quite a bit of pressure, or a lot of like, it's like challenging to be like, oh man, how do I make this place look dynamic or cool? And it's like certain tracks are super photo friendly. Certain tracks are really not at all, And so it's like, that's a lot of the stress now for me is like, and that could be the same as a commercial shoot. You may go to a location that the scout or the production team thought looked great for the scout, and then you get there and it's like it doesn't translate, or it's not cool looking or whatever, but you're there.
You're there now.
Yeah, you gotta nail it. You're not gonna change locations now. You gotta just do it. So there's a lot of that, and I do kind of like that, like that challenge every time of like keeping it fresh.
Yeah. I just always looked at you as just like, oh yeah, he's fucking dialed. Like he knows what's up. I'm just gonna go there.
Oh, this is a cool one. This is the first time I ever flew private, and I was lucky enough to get to go with Kevin Windham, and he used to fly private to all the races because his family. So he was like nice enough to. I was out there we were out there doing, I can't remember which movie, Crush, I think it was, or I can't remember, one of those. Maybe it was Stone Spray.
It might have been Stone Spray, because he had the...
Because that was with Taylor Congdon.
Yeah.
So Stone Spray. So we were out there shooting at his place, and then afterwards we were going to go to I think it was Millville or one of the races afterwards, and he's like, hey, you guys just want to cruise with me? I'm like, what? Like, yeah. so that was cool. So again, maybe it's not the shot maybe isn't like the best shot I've ever taken, but I just chose it because it's a cool moment and a cool like
era
thing I was
of
able
the sport.
To do exactly, and able to. I was just like lucky enough to be able to go with K-Dub and then go over to the next photo. To the
Does
left,
he still have that photo? Does he have that photo, you think?
I don't know.
You should text him that.
I should text him all these. We'll go to the other way. So he took me up flying in his plane, which was amazing, and he gave me like full tour of his property. And you take off like from a grass field in front of his barn, and just like cruise around. Fly, showed me the different tracks and everything. Just kind of like one of those surreal moments of like, this is cool. Like just
this is work.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm at work right now. This is
one
crazy.
Of those, bucket list things of like, and again, like someone I really looked up to, but he was just such a nice person. And,
the nicest.
Yeah,
and Dottie was amazing.
Oh yeah,
like they were just the coolest, nicest people.
Yeah. They were like. They just really like welcomed us. Like we were just like, anything.
Southern hospitality, y'all.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I remember getting to his place and just being like so impressed by his everything. Like his mansion, his tracks, his plane. Just he's the man, but he's the most laid back, chill, cool dude. And you're just like, I want to be Kevin Windham. Like that dude's awesome. Yeah, he was cool. So yeah, that's why. And again, like some of these pictures I picked. More for the story of like where I was. Maybe it's not my favorite photo I've ever taken, but like it's just cool moments and things that I was a part of. I mean, he's wearing his Motocross of Nations shirt that I was there at the Nations that year too. You know, so it's like just funny, like all these crazy stories of like, you know, saw him in, you know, in so many situations.
Would have been Erne, right?
Things. Yeah, Erne.
Yeah. Him, Tedesco.
Yeah, him, Tedesco, and Ricky. Yeah. God damn. Townley was just that was the first time I saw Townley ride. I'm just like, holy shit. Who's this guy?
Who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah, seriously. So that was a really cool moment too. And yeah, it all kind of.
I saw him and Travis Pastrana skim across the left side of that pond right there. Were you there that day?
Yeah, not that day, but I've seen him do a pond skim there, yeah.
Dude, I literally took my shoes off and everyone's looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, dude, if Travis hits that water, he's 100% getting a concussion.
Gonna save his life.
So I took my shoes off in case I had to dive in the water. I didn't want to have shoes on and try and swim to the middle of a lake.
True.
And he's like, after that, he's like, you really took your shoes off for me? And I'm like, yeah, bro, I was tripping.
He's like, where's your confidence, dude?
Yeah, I was like, hey, just in case, dude. I was always like scared.
Yeah.
When I was filming.
Yeah. I get like that a lot. And I've seen some bad stuff go down. So it's pretty scary. It's like a heavy thing. In fact, it's one of the things that if I ever slow down long enough, I want to learn like EMT style
first
stuff.
response
Because,
type shit.
I mean, dude, a lot of times, like, I remember one time we were doing this project with Ronnie Renner and we drove down in the middle of nowhere at this place in Mexico. And I mean, we were like hours from anything. And he was hitting, him and Potter, they were hitting some big stuff. And it was back with Taylor, we were filming, and it was like, I mean, I remember thinking like, dude, if something goes, I didn't even want to think about it, but I'm like, if something goes wrong here, like we're in big trouble because I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't know like how to, like, what would I do if he crashes right now? What do I do? And I sometimes think that, and it's really scary. And I hate that feeling. And I, some point, want to learn that stuff so I could possibly help save somebody or whatever. Because like, you know, you're in these moments with these athletes that are heavy situations, and you know, usually they go right, but sometimes they don't, and it's heavy when it doesn't. And it's like I've definitely been there enough times where I'm like, man, I really should know some stuff to help these people. You know?
Dude, Robbie, you remember before the Pipe Dream premiere, and Robbie had that crash on the BMX?
Oh yeah,
I was there.
Oh no way,
bro. So
yeah, that was bad.
That was crazy, dude. I literally thought he was gonna die.
Yeah, I remember. Didn't he go like a convulsion or something? Yeah,
bro. So we were just chilling. It was Sunday afternoon. I literally drove over. I was living up the road at the time. He's like, "Hey, I need you to come record some audio. Like, is that cool? Just come. We're gonna have a barbecue. We're riding. Blah blah blah." Mm-hmm. I was like, "Sweet." So I headed over. Bought me boardies, and I was just like,
"Party, let's go."
Yeah, like little Sunday afternoon. He endoed off the roll in that he had, and he just slammed his head and he dislocated his shoulder. And so I drove down in the golf cart and grabbed him and I was like, oh, we'll get you back up top. And then like he just wasn't there, and his shoulder was, I thought his shoulder was out, but it wasn't. He was just like stuck.
Oh,
like
yeah.
And
like
so we
locked up.
Yeah. So we get up top and we sit him down on, they had like they got like that outside area.
Yeah,
near
like
the
a
pool.
veranda.
Yep.
Kind of,
Yep. So sat him down there. And then Amy's like, oh, I'll call his neurosurgeon, because obviously he's had concussions.
Yeah.
So anyway, she was tripping, talking. She was like with him. So I'm on the phone to the fucking neurosurgeon dude.
Wow.
And I'm like, hey, so like, what do I do? And he's like, look, if he hit his head, then like Gatorade would be good, like to get some sugars into his brain, because apparently that's good. Because I guess they were worried that he might have like a seizure or something. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, don't let him stand up. And so I'm like faced away. And so I'm like, hey, Robbie, you got to stay. And he's like standing up right in front of me. But then he starts like shaking. And I was like, don't fuck around. Like, be serious, bro. Yeah. I thought he was joking with me.
Yeah, you thought he was just messing
I just thought he was messing with me. And then he just kept going and going and going. And I was like, bro, dude, fuck. Like,
that's scary.
I was tripping.
Yeah.
And then he just collapsed on the floor. And I've like caught, like tried to catch him, but he fell backwards. So we both hit the deck and he's just on the ground. And I'm like fucking trying to open his mouth. And then we had Sam, who was one of the stunt coordinators that did stunts with him. He was there. We're on the ground. We're fucking, dude, heavy. And then the power goes out. So the fucking ambulance comes, dude. The power goes out. They've got that big ass electric gate.
Yeah, nobody
so no one can get in. There's
Oh,
like
God.
3 ambulance dudes. Robbie's fucking doing his thing. So I like rip down the driveway on a 110 and I'm like wires together, like trying to get this fucking gate to open.
Insane.
So then I'm like, that not working. So then I rode back up, got a toolkit, took the thing off the hinges. So the fucking
Literally
thing,
saved Matto's life.
bro, it was the craziest shit. Rattled me, dude.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the reality of what we do, because you're in these situations where, I mean, I've seen countless fucked up things like that where it's just like, and you're just helpless. Like, that's one thing I hate about my job is like being in those situations, especially when you're in the middle of nowhere and knowing that like that kind of shit can go down.
The guys are looking to you to encourage them to go bigger and go harder. And I'm just like, no, dude.
I know.
Like,
like
do less.
another heavy moment, or always heavy like time, is Rampage. You know, like everyone's just sitting there in pins and needles. It's fucking deathly quiet, like scary quiet. And then you'll just see someone just huck something in like 50% chance they make it, or else they just stack and you can just hear it twice as bad because it's so quiet.
Yeah,
you just hear like this body crunch of just, like.
How about Cam Zink this year, last year?
Yeah, dude.
Bro,
exactly.
that was so fucked.
Yeah, I know. So it's like, I mean, just being in those heavy moments is like, we've seen a lot. And it's like, sometimes it's in the like when they actually make it, it's like the best feeling. Everyone's just like, just like the vibe is like, but then when it doesn't go that way, it's like, it's like,
the highs are high and the lows are low.
It's rough. So and then I hate that. I dread being in those situations, like when somebody gets hurt or whatever. I mean, there's just been countless.
I remember when we built the Dream Ride track in Australia, the first one, and Malcolm got there and he's like, oh, dude, I don't want to do any of this. And I was like,
oh, shit.
Fuck. Because, and like, I'd be into the compound. I'm like, dude, the jumps are massive. So I'm just going to literally build the biggest jumps that I possibly can in the days that I have. And he's like, dude, I've only got a 250. And I thought I've ruined the whole shoot. As soon as he got, and Sonia's like, and I'm like, oh no, what have I done, dude?
And now he's got all this pressure, like, I gotta do all this crazy stuff.
And then they just do it so easy.
Yeah, and then there's like nothing.
I was like, bro, you've literally just made me shit my pants.
Yeah.
I wonder where the next slide's gonna be. There we go. There he is.
Yeah, Townley and Mitch, legends. Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
And again, it's almost like becomes, you get like numb to it because you're just around so many cool moments like this. But pretty legendary stuff. Glenn Helen back in the day, back when they were still racing the national there, and
just the iconic 07 season of him and Villo.
Yeah, so good. Oh yeah, just battling.
This podcast is brought to you by our new electrolyte partner, SOTA Fuel. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you would know that I'm pretty big on the whole hydration thing. Every single day, I make sure I drink water mixed with SOTA Fuel electrolyte mix. SOTA Fuel is packed with all 6 essential electrolytes and key vitamins to help keep you hydrated and performing at your best. With up to 5 times more effective hydration than water alone, you'll stay energized and focused throughout your ride. Plus, there's no added sugar, so you won't experience those dreaded spikes or sugar crashes. As far as a supplement for riding dirt bikes, SOTA Fuel is your friend on and off the track. It helps reduce arm pump, muscle fatigues, keeps you hydrated to avoid headaches, and provides sustained energy to keep you sharp. SOTA Fuel is not only effective, but it's also one of the cleanest and most complete formulas on the market, with 2 to 3 times the electrolytes compared to industry standard, and a cost per gram that is twice as affordable. Lightweight, portable sachets are perfect. Throw in your gear bag, throw in your toiletries bag, throw in your work bag. They've got 4 great flavors, but my personal favorite is this bad boy right here. Gypsy juice. This is our very own flavor. I think it is by far the best flavor out of the 4. Go to sotafuel.com right now or click the link in the description. I would love for you guys to try it.
And Mitch is still doing it, dude.
Dude, still crushing it. I see him on the plane every weekend almost. Like, he's just grinding and hasn't had the best year, but he's still just chasing it just as hard and coming back and figuring out solutions on how to get there. And I mean, it's like, it's so cool. It's the sport's so good.
He's such a cool person.
Oh, he is. He's great.
You like have a beer with him at the hotel bar. No one better.
He's on that list of people. And it's funny because you're not like this and I envy you, but I'm like, still, there's people like that who I'm intimidated by. And he's one of them, dude. Like Mitch is the man, and I see him and I say hi. Like, we're super cool. We're good. But like, I'm scared to go past hello because I have so much respect. And
you need to just walk up to him and give him 3 beers and just put it in his lap.
I know. And
like,
I've never
sit there until you drink them, fucker.
Yeah, I've never partied with him, but like, I'm sure I have so much respect, and he's just the man. But he's the other, like, there's a list of people like that I'm like weird with like that. James's dad's one of them. Big James. Like,
James.
I still like, I've known him
20
forever,
years,
and I still call him Mr. Stewart when I see him. Hey, Mr. Stewart, because I'm just like, his level of respect, I'm just like, oh,
he's got aura too, dude.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, he's just got that vibe, and you're just like, Big James. Like I call him Mr. Stewart, but yeah, he's one of those people who like, I feel like we're cool, we'll say hi, but I'm like scared to go beyond hello because he just, I don't know why. It's in my own head, but they're all amazing people, and there's so many cool people in our sport.
Oh, you're so right, dude. There it is.
Yeah.
Oh.
Same day, just ripping.
He's such a legend, dude.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to spend much time around him away from
Honestly,
the track?
No, I never, especially during the seasons that I was covering and stuff, because at that point I wasn't shooting for his team or anything. So, I didn't know him as well as I would probably now if we, because now we do Kawasaki stuff. But yeah, I'm sure he was awesome. And I met, like, I've known him.
Yeah.
But I was never like friends as well as I am with other riders. But just had like massive respect ever since I saw him in Ernée, It's like,
so that day just changed.
Yeah, I was like, this guy is
gnarly.
And I'd heard about him a bunch, but like to see him ride, I was like, whoa, he's gonna come and like do some stuff, and he did.
That's awesome. Yeah, this was like literally that next year.
So that's another one of those cliff dive. That's from that same trip.
Oh, the same Bermuda trip?
Bermuda trip, yeah. Oh, Villopoto.
No way, dude. He was just a kid then. Yeah.
Right?
That 07 season.
Yeah, that was 07, yeah. Yeah, so that was fun. Like, that was when he just moved into Roncada's place, and he was just absolutely crushing it. And it's just so funny because, like, to see the differences in Villo now,
Dude, Dr. G yesterday said the exact same thing.
Yeah, because back then he was like
just business.
Yeah, kind of that level of intimidation of like, even though he was a kid, he was still like, you just knew like there was no like, you were there, get your shot, you're out. Like, it's not like he's gonna be like, hey, let's go golf the next day. They're not gonna happen. But now he'd be like, hey, Garth, let's go get a beer. I love Villo. He's amazing. But it's, and everyone's like,
well, you've got to do some cool shit with him now with the Yamaha stuff.
For sure. Yeah.
So you've really got to see him let his hair down.
Yeah, I feel like, and just through like mutual friends and whatever, like he's just like, he's just become, like, again, he's not somebody I talk to all the time, but when I see him, I'm like, what up, Villo? He's just awesome. Like, he's just like cool dude. And there's just so many characters, and it's funny to see like that transition from when they're so serious, such focused athletes, and then at the end they blossom into this whole other person. It's funny. It's like there's so many people that Dungey's the same way. Like, Dungey, back when I was working with him.
Oh, like, bro, he was my least favorite person to work with.
You and I have shot with him for Red Bull before, and you're just like, I think I remember like being at the sandbox or whatever with me and you, and
it was
just
Baker Factory.
Baker Factory.
And remember, he didn't want to ride.
No.
And I was like, no, he didn't want to do the whoops.
Yeah, and that's like why we were
there to shoot him do the whoops.
Yeah.
And I literally was like having not an argument, but like a spirited discussion trying to convince Dunge to do. I was like, bro, just 4 passes through the whoops.
And how do you say that? Because then if the 4th one he stacks himself,
dude,
then you just ruin his whole career or his season, and you're just like,
it's the hardest. It's the hardest position to be in.
Yeah.
It was so brutal to be like, oh man, I need that again. Yeah. And like the pressure that you have to like not fuck it up or not ask someone to do something that's like going to lead them to get hurt.
Sketchy
I
situation.
remember that exact moment. I was like, fuck, this is gnarly.
Yeah. So perfect example of him was like somebody who's hard to work with, And like back in the day, if I saw him at the races, you know, he's so focused. And if he sees me, he's probably just thinking, oh, what does this guy want?
What
from
does he
me?
want from me?
Yeah, a quote, a photo, whatever. So then like now to see him and he's just like, hey, what's up, Garth? And
He's
I'm
the
like, "What's up,
nicest
Dungey?"
dude.
Like
Yeah.
he's just the nicest guy. Yeah. So it's funny. And it's like, and I've seen that enough now throughout my years
To know that yeah.
these guys aren't the same guys once they are done racing that they are now. So,
Yeah, this is a
there's a good one at Dunge.
Great example.
Yeah.
That was the coolest time. He's like drinking beers,
having a fun time,
just staying out every night, drinking dinner with the whole, like eating dinner with the whole crew in the barn.
Yeah.
And that was the first podcast too I ever did.
No way.
Remember?
That was the first one?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Damn.
Jeremy literally convinced me to.
I remember Jeremy being a big part of that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
How crazy.
Yeah, he convinced me. I drove. Remember I had Hurley there and everything?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey man, you need to go to Guitar Center and like get all this podcast
Dude,
shit.
that's so
I
cool.
bought all the podcast shit on like the fucking on his credit card to do this.
That's so cool.
To do this shit.
Yeah, I remember thinking like I remember like hearing like, oh yeah, Jase is gonna like he can't shoot for a while because he's doing this podcast or whatever. And I remember now that you say it, like I don't remember it being the first one, but now that you say it, yeah, it makes sense. That's great.
But he was so cool.
Yeah.
And I had a completely different perspective of him because it was always so gnarly.
Yeah.
Like he just
so
didn't
serious and so focused and
didn't
so,
get it at all. Like
yeah.
the video thing was just like the video and the photo and the media was just like the most inconvenient,
totally
meaningless kind of thing. And then he just like as soon as he got out of that mode, he was just like the dude that he actually is, you know?
Yeah.
Like even Loretta's, when I saw him at Loretta's 23, had an hour and a half, we just stood watching motos talking.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Just
you couldn't imagine that in during his career, like no,
and it wasn't like
that could happen.
It wasn't like one of those. We were just there doing it.
Yeah,
there was
just
no
organically
like.
happened.
Yeah, it didn't feel like he was like had to be anywhere.
Yeah.
We just watched moto after moto
cool.
after moto, like and just the nicest, coolest guy.
Yeah. Who's your favorite now? Like if you had to pick like of the current, like who do you like to talk to the most? And I'm sure it's a hard question, but like who do you enjoy? Like, oh, so and so's on the podcast this week. I can't wait. Like,
who do you like the most working with now? I'll think about mine.
Like moto guys?
Yeah. Who are your favorites now? I feel like we're very lucky right now. Like I think we're in such a good era.
There's a lot of them. I really like Anderson.
Yeah.
He's awesome. Like he's one of the guys who's just like, he's a real person. He gets it. And he's like, you know, like I feel like he's not like so hyper focused on the sport that you can just talk to him about anything.
Yeah.
And he's going to relate or whatever. So I would say he's amazing. I mean, there's just so many like,
we're so lucky now. Like the crop of talent that we have, like it's going to be very sad in a few years when all those dudes are gone.
For sure.
Because like I love Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny's amazing.
Like I love hanging out with Kenny.
Yeah, he's awesome.
You know, he took a red eye from Seattle to be at MotoGP.
Legend.
And he's just chilling at MotoGP.
After the hardest race, like the gnarliest motor race, just like, okay. Yeah.
And
he's great.
Yeah, so he's awesome. Ando's awesome. I love anytime he does the podcast. The podcast I love the most are the guys that never do podcasts or never do
because they don't have like an expectation or a.
It's just like it's out of their character, you know. So like when Casey Stoner did it, it's like that's the coolest shit ever because he's never done it before.
Wow,
and like Eli,
yeah,
and Ando when Ando did it the first time, and then when he came on last year after San Diego. I was like, dude, that's so fucking dope. Like, that's one of like the biggest moments that's happened in the sport in a long time, like him and Jet and that whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then he wanted to talk about it. Yeah. So that's the stuff that I really enjoy because
I like the Lawrence brothers. They've added so much. Like I love working with those guys. And I like working with both of them the same day because they're so much different.
They vibe off each other.
Yeah,
too,
they really vibe. Yeah, it's really funny because like they're both great people, but like Jet's just such a different person than Hunter in a good way and a bad way, you know, like, but they're just inspiring people, you know, like they're just.
The best part about, I saw you had some photos of him here. I think
So
that
there's some.
you took the first photos of Jet when he
Yeah, it's
signed his
just
Red
up
Bull
there.
thing.
Go back up a little bit.
Where is it?
Come
Did I go past it?
right there.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, did you know this? That's not the best photo of his face.
Well, he was
What are
trying
you-
to be tough. Like,
What are you fucking doing here, Jet? That's funny. Did you know that day you were like, oh, this kid's gonna be the best?
oh yeah. I
Really?
knew I was like shooting
The next James.
greatness for sure.
You're like,
yeah.
this is like the next.
No, I was
James.
so excited. Like, I mean, because I follow the sport so closely and know, who are the top people coming in and everything else. And like, he had so much hype around him, and I knew it was legit. And so, yeah, like the first time we got to shoot together for this Florida thing, I was like super excited. I get like those kind of opportunities. I'm like, oh, it was like James back in his day and whatever. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, I can't wait. There's all this hype around this person, but no one's really seen him. And so it's like,
First time in a Red Bull helmet.
yeah, it's super, super exciting. So go back to the left again. So like when
this
I
one?
got to shoot, all right, go left, keep going left.
Another one.
One more. Yeah, like that. Like that one was sick. And so like again, not that we even had that many opportunities, but the fact that everything came together. We had a cool sky that day. He was feeling it, obviously throwing whips and stuff. And like it was just, it's just like one of those moments I live for, because I'm just like right place, right time, got my right equipment.
Guy.
And it's just it's thrilling to me. Like I just love that shit. So yeah, I mean, I feel like not a pressure, but like
A good pressure.
A good pressure, yeah. Of like,
like a pressure makes diamonds type of thing.
Yeah, like I'm gonna come correct on this one, because this is like my first time, like first impression, and like plus I want those Lawrence brothers to have a good experience with me, and like Garth's cool to shoot with. He's not gonna make us do it 1,000 times, and that's another thing I think. Like I really try to, when I work with people, I try not to make people do things 1,000,000 times, especially when they're doing gnarly stuff. I get the fact that they're on that level of like, really doing dangerous stuff. So like I try to, keep that in mind and try not to push people to too far of a level. But anyway, I just was like, when working with somebody like anyone, the big guys who are coming up, and you're just like, it's exciting, but also kind of like a cool pressure,
It's funny what you were saying before about you like shooting with the boys together. You know why I think that is? Is because Jet is always the little brother.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Hunter can just pump him.
Yeah.
So like he never gets to be.
They're just so,
like he could never be like the dickhead superstar that he actually could be if he wanted to be. Because Hunter's just like, fuck you, bro.
Hunter's
like the
hilarious.
best,
like,
dude.
Hunter's
the best.
sick. Yeah, he's like, I have so much respect for both those guys, and like their whole family, their dad. I mean, just like what they've been through to get to where they are. It's like such a cool story, and just like, I mean, they deserve everything they're getting, because they did it, and they put in the work, and family made the sacrifices, and it's such a cool story to see that work translate into what they've got now, So.
And just adding like a different thing to the sport.
Totally.
Like we just never had this. Like what they bring, it's so unique.
And it's also cool. Like, it's funny because like some people are like, don't like the fact that he's an international. Like it should only be like U.S. guys. But I think it's cool to have people from all around the world looking at our series as the absolute
Pinnacle.
Best.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate the fact that people are like the best people from Europe and from Australia and from all these different places are all coming to try to like be the best at our sport, which is like, it's pretty cool. And it's like, I think it's cool to bring that extra kind of uniqueness or flair of like Aussie guys and different people from different cultures and different whatever, kind of all coming into the same sport to battle.
Now, like Cole from New Zealand.
Dude, Cole,
there's about
huge fan of Cole.
Bro,
huge.
There is about to be a wave of New Zealand kids.
Is there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, Townley's boys.
Oh, so this is all Townley. See, there you go. Back to Townley.
So
BT.
Levi, his oldest, is racing EMX right now.
Oh, sick! Yeah.
So you should see that he got the biggest hole shot on. He weighs like 6 kilos, and he's on a 125. Got the biggest hole shot, and all the other dudes are like grown ass men. He's like a fucking 14-year-old kid, sending it. Sick. So there's like him. There's this kid Nico Van Hoven who's like really good as well. So there's just like there's a whole lineage.
See, I love that. I think it's awesome because
and it's built off the back of like Ben Townley, Chad Reed, the Lawrences.
One guy makes it,
Yep,
and then all of a sudden people see like, hey, you can do this. You know, and like I can come from this other place and come and shine and you know whatever. So I think I love that, and I like watching those guys and their trajectory has just been great. And I think it's cool to put pressure on the U.S. dudes to step it up and to like at the end of the day, we're all humans and it's the best human on a dirt bike, and that's awesome. I don't think it should be, you know, oh, he's the best in Europe. It's you know whatever. I think that's cool about like I think like especially for Supercross, you get to that level and like. If you really want to prove you're the best, you got to come over here and race SMX and win. You know, like that's so hard to do, but that's what it takes. And like, back to Colt Davies, like huge fan of that kid. He's so sick. And like, I like the fact that he has like those bike skills and the control and like he's just so good. There's other people that he's racing with on the line that I've shot with that literally like, they can't whip their bikes. They can't, and not to talk smack because they're fast.
Yeah, but there's just a different level of skill.
And like as a photographer too, I enjoy that way more because I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just trying to get cool, stylish photos. These dudes looking their best, and like when you got a guy like Cole who's scrubbing everything and just railing the turns and whatever. I mean, there's a notable difference between the way he hits that and the way.
Yeah,
the other 19 dudes, whatever. It's like,
and you can see it because it's
100%,
like your whole thing.
100%. And same with like the first time I saw Hayden. Like, you know, obviously he had so much hype, and like I've shot him before, like when he was on his 80 and whatever. But like when I actually saw him on the Star Racing, like doing his first Supercross, I remember watching him railing these like every corner there. And I'm thinking like, dude, he's notably faster than everybody else, like, or more aggressive, like just ripping that corner compared to like all these other guys who are all like right on the same second of lap time and they're all like that same level, but
he
you can
stands
tell
out
that little bit. And it's pretty rare for somebody
to be visibly
in our sport to be like that much better. And you're just like, wow, like that dude's gnarly. And I felt the same way when I saw Jet ride the first time, same way when I saw Stewart ride. Like there's just those certain people who have that little extra bit that's like that much better than the other, you know, the other guys that are super, super talented. So it's fun. And I love being around like all these different eras now that I've been doing it for almost 3 decades. I've seen so many people come and go, and it's just, I love it. It's really fun to see, you know, people hit their peak and and then like the sport has so many facets to it. You know, you could be at the absolute pinnacle, and then you have one bad race, and all of a sudden you're back to square one almost again. And you're trying to get back in it again. And no, all of a sudden while you're gone, all these other dudes are making their way up, and there's just so much to it. That's just so cool. Never gets old.
I know. After all the years, what other gems are we gonna find, dude? We've done 3.5 hours. Can you believe that?
3.5, really?
Yeah.
Wow, it's flown by.
Oh, that's sick.
That's a cool one.
A1.
I've always really loved that. Yep.
Yeah.
Josh coming back and winning it on his Yamaha. That was a big moment and cool because same thing. Like we grew up with him. And his dad, you know. So like we grew up at Paris
super
Raceway,
local,
watching these kids, and now they're at that level of competition.
You'd been there from the start.
Yeah, like literally watching this kid on little mini bikes go all the way up to where he is now. So just all that stuff. I love it all. It's just so fun. And seeing the grants, like it's just such a cool sport, and just so much emotion involved.
Yeah. And he's still such a cool guy.
Yeah. That's cool. And Kyle Loza. It's a cool portrait. And again, he's one of those guys who was always fun to shoot because he was different. He was unique, and like I thought that was cool. And like I gravitated towards people like him when I would shoot because like that car, like he just had cool stuff. He just had a style.
He had a personality and a style.
This is like fun to be around that and like capture that and like convey what
his
doing
personality,
and like show people that it's cool. I really feel honored and lucky to be able to be in those moments and have that pressure, but also in a good way of like doing this and being that kind of middleman in between showing these people skills and personalities and talents, but also showing them in a cool light.
Yeah, you're like packaging like who this person is
Yeah.
in this one easy presentable thing. Like, hey, here's a photo of like who this guy is and what he's about.
Totally. And I've always been tried to be really cognizant of not shaping that, not going in and going like, hey, put on this silly hat and be a cowboy today or be a whatever. Like I'm more like, because I came from that journalist, like, photojournalism background. So, I'm trying not to alter things much and trying to show these people as they really are. So like that wasn't my idea to have him do that, like just stuff like that. Like I try to like.
That's probably a big part of your success.
Yeah, I think I try to like put people in the good zone to like, hey, we're going to do a cool portrait, but now add your thing to it too. So it's almost like a collaboration where we're not, it's not just like, I've seen a lot of photographers who are like, exactly. They're like, wear this, do this, look this exact way. And I try not to do that. I'm just more like, I have my rough idea of how I want the lighting or the background, but like the rest of it, I just kind of let it come into play with the person and their personality, and just, it all kind of starts to flow as you're shooting. So I really like doing that kind of stuff when you're like, that all comes together and you're all just like, kind of feeding off each other and like, oh, cool. That was really cool, but let's do this too. And then it all kind of starts to build up versus like coming in with this set mentality of like, this is the shot list. This is what you do. This is like, check the boxes, So I've never been that type of person. It's funny because even now, like I feel bad because like a lot of the clients I work with, they'll spend so much time on these like crazy long shot lists and all this stuff, which, that's what you do when you're spending a bunch of money to do, 2 days or whatever to get everything packaged into this one thing. But a lot of the times, like, well, not,
you go rogue.
I do that, but yeah, I read, I always read it. I always check it out, but I don't go crazy over the concreteness of like, I've got to did we get this shot? Did we get this shot? Because I know like when I read the shot list or what the client's trying to get out of the shoot, basically, I know already like, all right, this is what they're looking for. Yeah. They want this. They want, this is what they're looking for. So that I kind of let that happen versus like, I think if you go in, and it's back to like, if you go into a shoot with too much gear, you overwhelm yourself with like your own thoughts and your own mental process of like, oh, I've got to use this thing. So I've got to, there's all these parameters around it versus just letting it happen and just winging it. And I think a lot of times the winging it works out if you have the talent to know, to be able to do that, and like you could just kind of let things happen and let it play out. You get way more organic, real core stuff versus setting it up, And so I try not to ever set up my shoots or have things feel like that. Like even for the athlete, I don't want them to think that they're jumping through these hoops I've laid out for them. It's more just they're doing their thing. I'm here to capture it. Let's do it together and make cool stuff. So.
Yeah, and dude, I can relate to that in the in this. I like never have questions, and sometimes I feel like an asshole, like because it's like, what, you didn't prepare for this interview?
Well,
and I'm like.
Yeah,
no, like you're cool. Like
you just let it flow.
Yeah,
and it just starts to happen, and that's when the cool stuff happens.
I want it to be what you do, bro. Like fucking. Yeah. I don't need to know. Like
and I think that is one of the huge formulas for your success. That's how your vibe is in your show, and that's why people want to come on here too, because they know they're not going to get grilled by
on
some dude who's like, you're like, let me quote you on this. It's more just like a free flowing thing.
Sometimes I do feel like. Maybe I should have researched. Like maybe I should have planned something. But I think like the trade-off, you know what I mean? Like what you get on one side is worth more.
For sure.
And that's kind of what you're saying with like, the shot list, what they're after.
Yeah.
Let it happen.
Yeah.
Like that guy's there for a reason.
Totally.
Like you don't need to babysit and coach this performance out of a person. Like we're here for this dude.
Yeah. Just be there. Ready to capture cool stuff. Don't miss the moment.
Yeah.
But you don't have to make the moment either. You're there to like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I fully get it. I fully get what you're saying.
Josh Grant.
JG.
Yeah.
Fuck. Who has him and Hansen.
So good, dude. Like these are the kind like okay, so normally like we'll go, this is for the Kawasaki poster shoot for the for the 2017 team.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things where you go to the test track and dude, most of the riders, like I can't remember that exact day or who was even on the team, but most of the riders are like hesitant to even crack
Do
a whip.
a
Like you're
yeah.
like barely, because it's preseason. I mean, this is like Anaheim's in a month. So
Yeah. What's the date on this?
12/1. So like, yeah, Anaheim's a
Yeah, the
month
first
away.
day of December.
So these guys aren't wanting to break themselves off. So they're just like, yeah, let's get a cool photo. But you have a guy like Josh who's just like sick
Yeah.
anyways. And then
Just peeling them.
yeah, and he's just like, let's do it. And so like, and then all of a sudden the sky gets really cool and he gets it and he's like, all right, I'm gonna throw some extra cool ones. So Swanee and I are all just ready to go. Just, oh, this is amazing. So he got amazing stuff from that day too. And like, yeah, it's just one of those like those moments, and there's those special people who, and then he motivated everybody else because he starts cracking them. So everyone's like, oh, I gotta do it now too. And so like I live for that too. Like I love those moments when it's like a snowball. Like the first dude did something sick, and then all of a sudden everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh, let's go. Yeah, and it's funny. I've seen that happen on so many levels and so many sports or whatever, where it's like
Everyone
it just takes
feeds
one
off the
person.
momentum.
Exactly. It takes one person to bring that vibe or bring that momentum, and all of a sudden it's just like the rest of the day is just like you're just
A fever dream of epic shit.
you just broke that barrier, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
you're just like,
yeah.
yeah, it's cool. So yeah, so again, like typically, poster shoots like that, they're very conservative. The riders are not going to do that much because it's like they don't want to get hurt.
The
They're
team's
just-
there.
and yeah, teams
Yeah.
there. The tracks, like the SoCal test tracks are notoriously hard, slippery. Like people aren't just tossing it. It's just
Yeah.
like, but you got a guy like him, and so it's
The magic happens.
exactly.
That's so cool. Yeah. that is an amazing.
So that's how I feel like.
That's an
again,
amazing
almost all
photo.
these like photos that I brought are just moments like that. Where
and then who's
there
the
you go.
next guy?
Yeah, there you go, Hanny. Yep. And so this was a super fun one. This was
Bro, that is epic.
that's a chocolate mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is one of my absolute favorite places to shoot in the world. It's one of the
Right.
best places ever. And this was a really special day because it was right when the Lawrence brothers just came out, or like I guess it's 2020. So they were like pretty fresh out here. And it was for Shift, who I've always loved shooting. Like, I just love Shift. Like, I miss Shift. They had such a cool vibe. Like,
Yeah, they did.
they were like, Shift was like me. Or I feel like that was my
It was like
most
the punk rock.
relative. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it was
yeah.
just they just did really cool stuff. I felt really lucky to do a lot of the Shift stuff, and so yeah, that was one of those days where I was with their art director, super cool guy, and he gave me just full freedom to just get cool stuff, and we just had Hanny, Lawrence brothers just ripping. I can't remember I don't think Jet wouldn't have been. I think it was just Hunter maybe, but anyway. Just ripping, and like when I was just like lucky enough to be there capturing it. And so that whole day, like we just got so much. I think if you keep going, there's a couple more shots like him and Hunter.
He
but like,
has maybe the best style ever.
oh yeah, dude. So that day, like one afternoon, and I probably got, but that's Josh. Sorry, I think maybe it's not the next one over. But anyway, there's other shots of him from that day on here.
Find it.
And oh yeah, right down there.
Here?
Yeah, right there. That's like the start, and then going to the next couple. But
Is that Hunter?
not is it? Yeah,
That is.
that's Hunter. Yeah, yeah,
No shit. Hitting that big ass.
yeah. So, dude, so
Bro,
like,
that's wild.
that one day, and you know that jump.
Yeah, I
The
do know
TV
that jump.
Yeah. So
yeah.
that one day, dude, they just went off. Like, go to the next one.
No shit. Hunter Lawrence.
And this is all in the span of like probably a 2-hour session. And
You-
dude, I was just like everywhere I turn the camera, it's just magic. It's just like
Yeah, bro.
insane. Like those two guys feeding off each other and just going like, yeah, I'm gonna hit it even bigger than you, and then just like whip, 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 and it's just like
No way.
it
dude.
was mental.
Hunter's
And-
ripping.
dude, man, ripping. And that was, I think, my first shoot with him, and I'm pretty sure it was. And yeah, dude, he was just insane. Like, just so fun to work with, and just so fun to be a part of that day, and to feed off of those guys' vibes. Like just such a fun and memorable time. I love
That's
that
epic,
stuff. Yeah,
dude.
it was sick.
I don't know that anyone has ever had a better style on a bike than Hanny.
Oh, he's
How old is he now?
so
He's like
good.
almost 40.
He's got to be like pushing 40. I almost it's funny because I had these really funny photos when he first moved to California. He was like Swap was like really good buddies with him, like right away. They just hit it off. And so, dude, I remember going over there when he was just such a little kid. Like literally the first time we showed up to shoot with him, he was wearing full pajamas, like a little kid, like, hey, what's up? Like, it's just like he's just such a legend, dude. And but always just such a ripper. And like same thing, like he to him, like style matters. Like he's gonna
Yeah.
look good doing it,
Yeah.
and it's like he's gonna go fast and he's gonna look good. And I just always like gelled with him. Like he was just always like
He's the coolest, bro.
such a cool guy and just so much fun to shoot. And his style
Yeah.
is just so good. And like, yeah, he's just epic. Like, I don't know, something about him. It's like he was always kind of anyway. And so we had this really funny when he first came, just became pro. We had Ivan Tedesco interview him, and so we did like this really funny shoot of those two guys, like interviewing each other and stuff. And there's like really just cool personality stuff. I think I didn't end up picking them, but yeah, there's just these really cool photos of them just like being kids, basically just being dorks and like talking shit to each other and like just funny stuff and like just being around so many things like that.
Like
It's so
that
cool,
time.
Yeah, just so many cool.
And he's going
times.
to do the pod, but I have to fly him from French Valley Airport to Costa Mesa Airport
Come on,
to do it.
come on, come on.
And I'm going to do it.
Why?
Because
It's
he
just like his thing.
doesn't have time.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, bro, that fucking drive, it's so far. He's like, I'm not ever going to Costa Mesa. Like, why would I? He's like, can you do it here? And I'm like, no, we can't do it
Oh
here.
my god, that's funny.
And he's like, dude, I could like finish testing at
Fly
the
me.
track and go straight to French Valley Airport. And I'm like, yeah. I actually have a friend with
I
the
love it.
plane at French Valley Airport. So I'm probably going to drive.
That's sick.
I'll probably drive to Murrieta to get in the plane, to fly with him
I mean, you
here,
should, yeah,
to
for
do
sure,
the
yeah.
podcast, to fly back there, to drive back here. It would be the best day
That's
ever, dude.
amazing. Yeah,
Oh,
that's so good.
that's
he's
the most
fun.
Hansen thing of all time, right?
Fly me out I can't drive an hour.
Fly me
no way.
50 miles in a plane to do your stupid podcast.
So good, dude. Yeah, he's gonna be a good. He's never been on.
Nah,
Oh, he's gonna be awesome. Yeah.
I just, dude,
He's so
fucked
classic.
my early 20s, bro. I was because he was like going back and forth to Australia. And I just thought he was the coolest dude. And I was trying so hard to be
be
cool
Hanny.
with him, And I like just made so many bad decisions to being his friend.
Yeah, he's so good.
It was so funny.
But yeah, like that was, and so this, I for whatever reason, I didn't pick as many photos of him, but yeah, like that was insane. Like just getting to see those guys feed off each other and just rip, So, oh, look at this old shot of MC and Reedy in the trailer playing video games.
These are the shots, dude.
Right. So this was on an all-night production. We did a really good friend of mine, John Nelson, who ended up becoming like a huge director, like commercial director guy. Right when he was still kind of slightly rooted in motorsports, but he was getting these
What was
real
his
big
name again?
gigs. John Nelson.
Okay.
Yeah, he was like, he doesn't do any moto stuff anymore, but he does like big car commercials now and stuff. But when he was at this time, he was just getting into that world, but he still had enough roots in motocross that he was able to get this job. And we did this super cool shoot where we shot overnight in the whole shoot. I don't know if you remembered. I think it was a Thor Supercross commercial, like in this time, like this is 05.
Yeah.
So it would have been for like the 06 season. They played it in the stadiums, and it was basically like these like slow-mo shots of them like floating through. It almost looked like space because they brought a massive light like this above.
And shot slow-mo.
Yeah, and so they shot the whole production was at night, and everything was pitch dark out, but with these like really cool lighting things that like no one's ever done that in motocross at that time. So it was really cool. So these are just like random behind the scenes, like these
Just
guys are probably
downtime.
just bored waiting around, but just always taking little pictures, and I just thought it was funny to include. But yeah,
That's
I mean,
so
just
cool.
like if you go zoom out of that or go to that, and you're like, there's a picture of Jeremy throwing like a big fat knack, and I have a shot of Reed in here too from that shoot. There's Reed right there.
That one.
Yeah, so like this crazy lighting of these guys like at night almost looks like it's shot in a studio,
Yeah.
but he's just like hitting the triple, So it was cool. And then go over, and I think there's one of Jeremy
Dude,
too.
that era of Thor.
Yeah, like
how
their-
did they fuck that up?
Their gear was so good, dude.
How
Yeah.
did Thor fuck this up, bro? They had everyone,
Everything,
and
yeah.
it was the
It was
coolest
the
shit.
Yeah, for sure.
That helmet, bro,
Yeah, look at that. I mean,
Get
it's
out.
timeless to this day. Look
still
how good it
holds
looks.
up. Yeah, like that photo right now still holds up.
Still the style. And then there's
There's one of
Jeremy.
Jeremy
There's
the
Jeremy, and
Whoops.
then he's doing. There's also one of him doing a knack. But anyway, yeah, just incredible stuff that was like really cool to be able to be there to capture, and again, like not that like John did all the heavy lifting of getting the lighting and getting all the stuff, but like I was able to just, kind of piggyback off.
Where you just like we were saying before, just get the shots in the 5 minutes that you've got to do it.
And I picked this one just to show. This was like, so this is 05 too, and this was like, I was really influenced by all the skateboard stuff with strobes and everything else. So I used to go out to the desert. This is Jeff Tilton. I used to go out with Tilton, Renner, like all these guys, and we would just do these fun Hoggelstein, like these fun desert trips. And we would just like, I'd bring my dad, we'd camp and like just do cool shit and just make like for no reason, just then to make it. So like, I was able to justify it by saying like, hey, let's go shoot and I'll put it into the photo gallery for Scan and Transworld or whatever. And so it gave Jeff enough, or whoever the rider was, enough motivation to come out and, take his time to do it. Exactly. And then it would just be like these little, like almost like self-project things but there was an outlet for them to put them out. So it was really cool because that's where it really was able.
Because you have so much freedom in that moment.
I gained the experience with no pressure to be able to like, all right, I'm going to get weird and set up a strobe here. Watch, go out real quick. I'll show you one that like really resonates to me in terms of like just capturing a really cool, I don't know if it's up or down, probably up. A really cool scene that nobody asked us to do, or it wasn't on any shot list, but we just did it. Let's see, keep going.
God, there's so many cool photos.
So much stuff. Shit, maybe I had you the wrong way.
Dude, just real quick.
Yeah, TB.
One of the best photos.
Oh, yeah, just love that one.
Fuck, bro. That is the shit.
So good, yeah.
Oh, crushed. This is the knack you were talking about.
Oh, there's Jeremy's knack, and so that's from that same shoot.
Yeah.
We did that really cool light.
So go down, you reckon?
Yeah, let me see. Maybe it must be down. Sorry. It's of Ronnie Renner. God. Oh, let's see. I know it's in here.
Oh my God, this photo is fucking iconic.
Oh yeah, check that one. Yeah,
let's find this one first. We're jumping around.
There's Renner too, but it's this camping one we did. Let's see, it's at night.
So that's the one. That's where we were at.
Yeah, keep going up. Be like really orange looking. Hopefully, I put it in.
Maybe you didn't. Oh, is that it?
No, that's not it.
This one?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So this one. So this was a perfect example of like no like
reason
to do this, but I just to this day I love this photo because it really just like basically paints the exact story of what we used to do. His buddy over there drinking a beer, fire going off, and us just having a good time out in the desert and just getting weird with lights and weird stuff. So like for this one, I remember I was back out. My dad was like assisting me, helping me out. And he came and camped too. And Renner loved my dad, and so did Steve. Like we were all just like buddies, and we would just go ride and camp. So like for this one, we were like Renner was like, dude, it'd be so cool to like get the actual camp scene with the shot at night, like to really show the whole thing. So he kind of like put the idea in my head. So it became like this challenge of like, how do we capture this whole thing? So we ended up just messing around. I put my camera on a tripod and did like a fairly long exposure. That's I think it's a 4 second or 4 second. Exposure. And so it came down to like all these variables of having like, it took us a few times. I had to have my dad pop the strobe at the right time because he was just like popping it, So, so we just played around with it until we got something cool. And this is, well, I guess, I don't know. I guess it wasn't that late. Well, my time was probably off because I never said
Yeah.
But it's probably 10:43 because that's probably 3 hours ahead or whatever on my timestamp. But so we're just like, we would stay up super late just messing around and just playing with light and doing weird stuff, And so like, again, it was cool for me to know these guys and for them to like trust me enough to like waste their time, quote unquote, to do this stuff. But then we ended up getting really cool stuff from it. So it's like, I just really appreciate all those people and that help me do this kind of stuff and like develop these kind of skills to get where I am by just doing it and just messing around and just trying to be creative and get something that was different at the time. Like I had never seen anyone shoot something like this before. So I'm like, hey, how do I do it? I want to figure it out, So I just love it. And it's just funny, the whole trial and error thing of like figured it out. And like, you know, it's the first time we did it, we blew the whole, that black part that's real nice and dark now, that got all blown out with too much light. So they're like, oh, okay, we got to move the light now to fix that. So it just has that, like that little rim light, you know, 'cause that's all I wanted on there. So it's like all these little perfectionist things that I can now, you know, pick apart, but it's like, yeah, it's just learning all that and like how or learning how to do it quickly and like putting it all in your
just
head,
getting
figuring it
experience
out.
and all right, what's if there's one more photo that we should look at, what is it, you reckon?
Gosh, that's a tough one.
There's so many. We would literally need to go for another few hours, but we need to eat and mountain bike.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I don't even know, man. Really, it's a tough call.
We might, maybe part 2 is just going through more photos.
Yeah.
Wait.
There's some epic James wake surf photos.
No way.
Yeah. And again, just fun stuff that I was happened to be there having a fun time at his house and was able to capture the man doing cool stuff, you know?
You just wouldn't look at that kid and be like, that's the fastest motherfucker ever.
Such a legend. Yeah,
he is such a G, bro.
So good. And Longhorn in the background.
Yeah.
Roger. Yeah. Just a lot of good memories, you know, like this is all the stuff that shaped where put me where I'm at, you know, it's just these moments and being around
this
this
is the
kind
stuff
of stuff
that really matters in the business sense too, you know. It's like, yeah, it's the photos that you're getting paid for, but then it's like the stuff that happens off camera and offset. And it's like who the person you are in those moments is what gets you to the moments
100%
professionally.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And just being cool enough to chill
Be
with them.
around.
Like, yeah, exactly. And not demanding too much, knowing your place. You know, I think that's a lot too. It's like I've seen other people who they're like so focused on their own thing that they don't understand that like, oh, like let's ask James to do a bunch of stuff that he doesn't want to do and he's chilling and having fun wakeboarding. I'm not going to do that. So I'm like, I'm just going to be the fly on the wall, pick up those cool moments. Maybe there's one time I'll be like, hey, James, can you just like turn around or turn a little bit or whatever? But like, I'm not trying to write the script. I'm not trying to make the narrative of like, this is Garth's vision. It's not. It's like, I'm just part of this whole thing that's happening. And I'm just trying to capture those things organically in a cool way. And so I think like that's, you know, there's a lot to be said for that versus trying to control things and throw your ego around. Like, you got to be like this and it's not going to work this way. There's a million ways to take a photo, you know, and it's like, you got to find that perfect balance of keeping the subject happy, entertained, and showing like their, you know, what you're trying to capture, but also getting the job done and making it visually look cool. So there's just all those elements that pack into that one little split millisecond. And that's what photography is really, you know?
Dude, we should leave it there.
Okay.
I just don't think that I can say anything after that is better. Dude.
Let's go ride mountain bikes.
I'm so glad we finally did this.
This is amazing. Thank you so much.
Bro, I appreciate you.
No,
you're one of the best people that I've ever met and worked with.
Feelings mutual, man.
And you're a person I will be friends with till the day I die.
100%. Even if neither of us are doing any of this stuff.
Never done.
We could be digging ditches tomorrow. And yeah, you're my boy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This was awesome. And we should definitely do it again too.
Anytime you want me back, I'm in. You say the word.
Well do it again.
I'll try to do a better job at like narrowing my focus on photos next time.
No. This was sick. And I'm gonna print some photos. I want some photos printed as well.
Anytime.
So because I want one from the scrub. Because the fucking fire, I lost everything. So I'm like, I kind of want some shit. Yeah. So there's like a bunch of stuff. So I'm gonna get some photos. I'll print them out. We'll put them in there.
Maybe from the Herlings shoot.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be fucking sick. But dude, thank you.
Norway.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about Norway.
So much to talk about.
Yeah,
I'll come back.
That's too
I'll come
much. But yeah.
All right, last one. I got to leave it on. Pastrana, thumbs up.
Oh.
Come on. Come on.
Dude, I've never had that much lean angle ever.
Every time I ever look at this photo, I'm like, if I could just rip a berm like that with both hands on, I'd be so stoked. And this dude pulling out the one, I mean, that thumbs up of his thumb
iconic,
is the most.
Bro.
He's got the coolest thumb in the world, for sure. It's so good. Anyways, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're the man.
Good times.
Garth Milan.
Jase and Garth. All right, mate.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.